Okay, so if everything turned out well, now it should switch. Yes, good. Okay, so we are live after some needlessly complicated technical difficulties. I sorry for everyone who watched the scheduled event. I don't know, but for some reason it fucked up, and I had to start a new stream. But yeah, and say hi to Sotek, everyone. And okay, so here we are. We will be playing a decently modded game, and
Pretty much.
yeah. You can find the list of mods we'll be using down in the description. There's like a little over 30 mods, but the main thing we'll be, of course, using is the Steel Faith overhaul that changes so many things that you better just look it up for yourselves. And, of course, any other mods that are just obvious, I'll mention once we get into the game. So, we can start, Sotek, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm. So, we'll be playing, of course, as you might have noticed, a Davi Ungi alliance with Sotek as the brave Slayer King Ungrim Iron Fist from Karakadrin, and me as, of course, the one and only Supreme Patriarch Balthazar Guilt. The with his law of heavy metal. Yes. Okay, so Sotek, I was wondering, what actually got you into Warhammer? I don't think I ever heard you explain your reasons.
So my story basically was that when I was, when I was 9 years old
Mm-hmm.
in elementary school, they opened a games workshop in the local mall.
Mm-hmm.
Local being relative to Texas, of course, it's still way, but so my parents were over there just shopping or something, because this was way back when the area of Texas I live in was much less developed. Like now it's a fully functioning, massive ass metroplex, but back in those days it was not. It was super rural.
Okay.
But they were there and they kind of passed by it and they saw there was like a bunch of dinosaur models and stuff, and I was obsessed with dinosaurs when I was a kid. So they were like, "Oh, this looks fun." So they took me over there one day, and I kind of remember that I talked to a employee there, and the guys who worked there at the time were super nice. And after talking with them for a while, they kind of managed to convince me to pick up a few models. So I had to decide what army I wanted to play. And I remember I had a massive crisis between playing as the High Elves or the Lizardmen.
Mm.
Because for me, I liked dragons more than dinosaurs, but if I played the High Elves, I literally would only get to use like one dragon.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the elves, I just wanted the dragons.
So, before you continue, you are saying we could have today had a Lawmaster of Hoeth instead of Lawmaster of Sotek, eh?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think I would have stuck with the High Elves if I had played them. Because my best friend back in those days also got into the game, and he started as High Elves.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, he wanted to play Wood Elves, but Wood Elves didn't exist at the time. Like they existed, but you couldn't buy any of their models because they were getting ready to be re-released for 6th edition.
Mm-hmm.
So all their 5th edition models had been cleared off the shelves. So like you just couldn't play them for a good couple months. So he ended up being a High Elf player instead.
Okay, so you in the end decided to go for the Lizardman.
Yep, and my first ever purchases were it was a box of Saurus Warriors, the Saurus Warriors Command, because those were sold separately and they were made out of metal instead of plastic. A Skink Priest, and a single Croxagore, because Croxagores, much like the champions and the priest, they were sold in uh, those little plastic packs, cluster packs, or whatever they called them.
Okay.
And yeah, and then it was a long road, but that was right before sixth edition started. So the lizardmen I started collecting were the fifth edition lizardmen, which if you ever seen them, they were wildly different back then.
I definitely seen some models because I browse the pictures of models a lot for my animation videos, and I definitely seen some crazy looking models that I was like, damn, that was a thing.
Most of the old models for every army were absolutely hideous. Like, they were so bad. Games Workshop has gotten much better with their technology at making those kinds of things. It was just ugly back in the day.
All right, so while you start setting up, I can maybe share how I got into Warhammer. Basically, how I got into Warhammer was through the book series about the saga of Gotrek and Felix. I remember when I was...
It is a noble way to get into it.
Yeah, like, I don't think I could have ever grabbed a better Warhammer representation than these novels. And the first novel that I actually read was the one I consider to be the best one of the series, which is the Demon Slayer. Of course, your opinion may vary, but I'll state my reasons after. So basically, I don't remember when exactly it was. I know I was in primary school still, so maybe like, what, like 10, 11 years old. And my grandparents and my... Yeah.
We have to do that at least once, apparently.
Okay, no problem. And my grandparents took me to a bookstore, and there I found, this book Demon Slayer. And I am sure there are many different covers of the book, many different, front covers, but this one is basically the Bloodthirster of Khorne, like, front center of the pictures, screaming at like Gotrek and Felix, who are, flashing their rune weapons at him. And as soon as I saw the cover, I was like, okay, I have to read this. Then I, of course, turn it over, and there's, always the little excerpt from the book on the back cover, and I read it, and that's I think the part from the actual battle between Gotrek and the Bloodthirster, and it was of course full of mentions of gore, of swearing, of fucking runic weapons, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I sat down in that bookstore while my grandparents like looked around themselves, and I started reading the book, and they gave me a lot of time. Like, I think like they left me there for like 15 minutes, and when they came back to me and I was still like engrossed in the book, they were basically like, okay, we'll just go look at the rest of the mall and we'll come back for you in like an hour. I was like, okay. And when they returned, I had like the first third of the book already read. I was the first part of the first few pages were already good, but when you get to the Skaven battle, that's when I was like, oh my god, it's fucking awesome. Like, I still remember how I imagined that battle going on, and still when I read this book for like the 100th time today, I still picture it the same way as I pictured it the first time I read it. And so, of course, I had my grandparents buy this to me, and I read the rest of the book during the afternoon. And the next day we went back to buy the first two books, the Troll Slayer and the Skaven Slayer. And man, I just fucking... The Demon Slayer just got me hooked because it covers such great portion of Warhammer lore in just one 300-page little book. It's insane. Basically it tells you a little about the Empire. It tells you a lot about the dwarves, about their technology, about their opinion on new technology, about their engineers guild, about their oaths, about their slayers, about chaos, how it functions, about Kislev, about Skaven politics, about demons. This book just lays down on you so much Warhammer lore in just such a small little, you know, novel.
Yeah.
But it does it in such a organic and enjoyable way. I was just, well, I basically read it in two sittings.
The original Gotrek and Felix author was he was
William
very,
King, yeah.
very gifted at explaining a ton of information that was followable, even though it was super complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, of course, he had his weak points with, like, the romance between Felix and Ulrika, but that's not why you read Warhammer books. You know what I mean.
No,
but,
it was just a huge setup for the vampire plot.
Yeah. But his battles were just immensely engaging. Like, I remember, like, the book I have still has, like, bent pages from how my muscles would tense in these battles as I read them. It's just so fun. And then there's, like, a shit ton of battles in this book. I think it's, like, well, maybe with the exception of, like, the Beast Slayer, it has the biggest amount of battles per novel. And all of them are just fucking awesome.
You've got some comments in your chat, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Respond to those.
Oh, okay, Robert. What playstyle do I like the best? Man, I really enjoy magic in Warhammer. Like, I already told Sotek I prefer casting Legendary Lords, because they are just... I just really enjoy the versatility of different spells, and the fact that, you know, they aren't just monsters in melee, that you have to actually try and protect them, but they can wreak some serious havoc just in a different way than, let's say, like a Kolek that smashes a face in would do. What I would say is I definitely prefer magic, but in the same way I definitely can enjoy some good artillery and skirmish play. That's why even though dwarves aren't, you know, magically gifted, if you don't count the runesmiths, but that's a slightly different ordeal. But I really enjoy the artillery. I enjoy all the skirmish units, especially the Iron Drakes. Like, every time I start a dwarf game, I basically have, no matter what lord I start with, I always have to revert back to Grombrindal, because he starts with a unit of Iron Drakes, and that's such a fun unit to start with. You can basically get it to gold chevrons in a few battles, because it can wreak so much ass. It basically counts for more than half the kills of your entire force. I enjoy cavalry, but I find myself so engaged in, like, the visuals of the battles and the visuals of spells and such, that I'm not very good with my micro. Like, I can be, but I definitely prefer to have some solid front line that can hold, while my mages, skirmish units, etc. does the rest of the damage. So yeah, so that's the reason why I am so looking forward to the Chaos Dwarfs. That's basically like everything I just said in one package. So, awesome magic, awesome monsters, steampunk, demon steampunk, let's say.
Yeah, it's like steampunk if it was in Hellraiser.
yeah, exactly. I just recently I read the was it 6th edition, 7th edition Chaos Dwarf Army book? I don't remember which edition it was.
Giant slayers have hammers. That is not the best weapon for giant slaying. Gotta go axes, bro.
Yeah, go for the ankles. And where was I? Oh yeah, so I read the where? Oh, I was like, where the fuck was Angrim? He was fighting the orc boss. But what I was...
I'm just gonna hit the fast forward so I can kill as many of these orcs as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what I was saying was that I'm definitely looking for... I read the Chaos Dwarfs Codex. Again, don't remember what edition it was, but it was one of the later ones, and they have such a great amount of cool shit. It's like some it's insane the amount of stuff they have, like the magma cannon, or the what's it called, like that train thing.
So the four really famous Chaos Dwarf machines are the Iron Demon, which is the train, the magma cannon, the Dreadquake mortar, and the Death Shrieker rocket.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that artwork of the... I think it was the it was the Dreadquake mortar, that where it's painted being loaded by an ogre.
Yeah, the rounds are so big the Chaos Dwarfs can't move them. They have to use an ogre to crew it.
Hey, Joseph. I'm good. How are you, Sotek?
Yeah, I'm doing good today.
Okay. And
it's pretty gloomy here in Texas today. It's been raining and storming all day.
And hey, Kyle, Raz. I hope I'm not butchering your name, Raz from Israel. And Matthias. Hey everyone. And what is it you are saying, Robert? Robert, I enjoy Beastmen, but I enjoy them in battles, but I simply can't bring myself to play Horde factions, which I really like building empires. That's the main reason I play Total War games. But even with how fun Beastmen are, unless you are playing against a real player, in my opinion, it's not very fun to just, wreck the cities of the AI, because they can never muster up a good defense to actually stop you. Like, they can defeat you, of course, but if you raise their city, you can be pretty much sure they will never return to it. And so you just feel like this unstoppable wave that can pretty much be only slowed down. I don't know, what do you think about the Beastmen and the Chaos Warrior Sotek?
I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely really enjoy the Horde campaigns.
That's great. We could, exchange opinions.
Yeah, like, the thing for me is, I just like something that's different. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally get the idea of, like, building empires is genuinely super fun, and allows you to have just ludicrous amounts of, like, customization and all this other stuff. And the Horde gameplay, unfortunately, causes some unfortunate shenanigans, in that the thing about it, in my opinion, is that you get into this issue where that the biggest problem the Hordes have is that you can't customize your Horde.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think that's due to, like, Hordes just, like, being bad. I think it has a lot more to do with the fact that CA wasn't very inventive when they released both of those races. If you compare, like, the Tomb Kings and all the shenanigans they can do, versus what we can do with the Beastmen or Chaos. Like they're just super bland.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think it's just because, you know, when they made them, they were like, oh, hordes are different, so that's good enough. You know, I think if they were to release Beastmen right now, or release Chaos right now, Warriors of Chaos right now, if they just let's pretend they just released them, I think they would actually be wildly more interesting.
Oh, you mean like they would put much more effort into it, like with the
like
Tomb
they,
Kings?
they wouldn't just be hordes. There
of course,
going on. That being said, the Beastman campaign itself I really enjoy, because having the ability to hide or jump over rivers or mountains and the moon events can make the Beastman campaign pretty entertaining, especially with the moon events, because the whole thing with the moon is that you kind of have to plan around Morsalib, especially on the higher difficulties, because, like, for instance, your replenishment rate is gonna suck unless you make sure to try and plan for the moon to come around at the right time. But you know, if you take the casualty replenishment, you typically have to, I think it makes you really slow. So you basically have to find somewhere safe so the computer doesn't, dogpile you and tear your face off.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. By the way, before we continue that Beastman conversation, speaking of replenishment, one of the mods we are actually using is a mod that decreases replenishment by 60%, which is something I thought would be, maybe like annoying at first, but when I actually tried the mod, it makes it, in my opinion, much more fun, because I found myself in battles in regular games without the mod, basically going like, my army can get wrecked as much as it wants, as long as my units don't die, and then I replenish in like a turn or two, and I basically don't care about casualties. But with this mod on, with this minus 60% replenishment rate, it actually matters how much your units get wrecked, because especially with factions like the Dwarves and the High Elves, who already have slightly lower replenishment rate than the other factions, your units can, if they get really wrecked, get replenished for like, 6-7 turns, which means that you actually have to try and actually, care about your units in battle, not just throw them around like, oh, you are worthless, you will just get, replenished in 1 or 2 turns, and I can basically care less about you. Of course, it won't matter as much as it matters in, like, Total War games like Rome 1 and Medieval 2, where actually the population matters. So if you have low population, you basically can't replenish your troops, or in Medieval 2 case. What did you say?
Well, hopefully I clicked the right button. I went to click on my army, and one of the dilemmas came up, and I have no idea what I clicked. So
doesn't matter. Hopefully it will sort itself out.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, good luck, Empire.
I think this was for the unit caps. Or was it the Empire dilemma?
No, I think the Empire one's first.
Doesn't matter. I don't know if
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever it is, like, it's not even in. No, it was. Okay, it was the capacity system, but I picked the right one.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So where was I? Oh yeah, so basically
2 turns to recruit Slayers? Jesus Christ.
So basically, if you can now look at Sotek's replenishment, basically I don't know if he's okay, yeah, he's in his territory, but still, can you see how fucking tiny that replenishment bar is? Like, it will take, okay, yes, it will take definitely several turns for him to replenish that, and of course that some people may find that annoying, but I don't know. I just maybe we
Well,
will.
I will say it puts a lot more interesting emphasis on playing carefully with high level units.
Yeah,
Because the
exactly.
thing is, like, if a tier one unit, or not even tier one, if a rank one unit gets knocked down to 9 guys, and you're, have at least a province or something, it's like, whatever, who cares? I'll just disband them and hire a
Hmm.
new one. But if you got like that rank 9 unit of Slayers, you're going to try a lot harder to keep them alive and be careful with them in a fight.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And oh, then we were talking about the Beastmen. So about the Beastmen, how do you feel like when you play them? How do you feel about like the campaign challenge? Like
Um,
when you fight against the AI, is it
Beastmen,
fun for you?
uh, Beastmen are a little weird. Because what's hard about Beastmen is that you have to keep up a certain level of momentum, but it's difficult because, like most hordes, you can really struggle to keep your casualty replenishment high enough so that you can keep up with the rising costs of running a horde. Like, the thing about hordes is, like, yeah, sure, you can play it safe and just have one horde, but it's also really dangerous because if you goof up and the AI manages to beat you once, you're dead and your campaign's
Yeah.
over. So it's like, generally it's better to have 2 hordes, especially if you can get them into different, like, nations, because then you can just loot like crazy. But at the same time, the thing is, when I play Beastmen, I really enjoy it because it really feels like you're playing super close to the chest. I do think that the Warriors of Chaos have the most difficult campaign by far because they're just lacking in mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they can't ambush, and if you play Kolek, you're easier to ambush, which is just ridiculous. Like, it just makes this campaign so hard. The only thing you have going for you is that most of the Chaos Lords are really powerful, and you can go mess with Norska for a bit. But Norska is now actually kind of capable of defending itself. Like, I haven't played a Warrior campaign since the re-release of Norska, and I really need to make time for that. Because I bet it's a lot more interesting now that there's stuff going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'm really hoping we get, like, if they would move Azhag into Karak Ungor and then give us a Skaven Lord in Hell Pit, and then and even make Kislev playable one day, like, that would actually make the Warriors campaign really interesting because there'd be so much shit going on up there. I think the worst thing about the Warriors campaign, honestly, is just there's nothing going on there. Because
Yeah,
it was
that's
just
true.
AI factions up there. Like, you wouldn't even see a player faction for like 50 to 100 turns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, like what was it I was saying? Uh, with the Warriors of Chaos, it's like you definitely don't want to go down in Kislev straight away because you will, get
Oh yeah,
fucked.
they'll kick your ass. Like,
But then again, fucking up in the north, just fucking around in the north isn't as fun as plundering the Empire's lands. And so you are just for at least like what 20, 30 turns just stuck up there. And man, I can't stress enough how many games how many Warriors of Chaos games I just stopped playing because I got stuck on the Norscan dwarves. I just hit,
yeah, I mean, the thing about the Norscan dwarves is if you can't catch them out, then you might as well just walk past them and go into Norska and then come back to them later. Because if you don't catch them outside of Krakadrak, they will usually annihilate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
or do so much damage that you're just crippled for many turns.
Also, what the fact why I don't really, the main reason why I don't really enjoy the Horde faction, especially the Warriors of Chaos, is because when you play against the AI, like, yeah, it can put up a fight, but you never feel like you are a real threat and that the world is mustering against you. Like, yeah, you can meet some of the empire, armies of the empire's provinces, maybe some dwarves, maybe some Bretonians, but it doesn't feel like there's really anyone to stop you. Once again, if you play against a player, that's a completely different case. Like you know, you actually, if let's say one player plays as the Empire, another as Chaos, then you actually
Give me
feel.
those Outriders, yo.
Yeah, of course. How do I do that?
So you'll click
Oh yeah,
on them,
I see it.
and
I
then
see it.
below Gelt's portrait.
Have it right. You have it right.
Yep.
Okay. So if one player plays as the Empire, another as Chaos, then you actually feel like there's someone down in the south readying his armies against you.
I don't think, and here's the crux of the thing, is that if you come to me and you say, like, I think Horde gameplay is just bad, I'm going to be like, well, I don't agree. I think, like, Norska is a pseudo-Horde, and they work really well, and I feel like in the Beastmen are a Horde, and they work really well. But if you come to me and you say, Chaos is really bad, I'm going to be like, yeah. Chaos felt really rushed. And CA's literally, admitted that, where they didn't, in the original game, they said, okay, we weren't intending to have Chaos. It just sort of, like, we made Chaos as the main antagonist for the player, and then we were sitting there and like, okay, well, what if we just did a small DLC to add, just a little bit to make them playable? I mean, consider this, of that pretty much every race in the games DLC is almost $20, and you get some fairly interesting gameplay and a bunch of new stuff. Warriors of Chaos was like $7. And I genuinely wish they just hadn't done it. Like, I wish they just waited. Made like a full-fledged Chaos DLC.
But then it's like, starting a Warhammer title without Chaos. Like,
Well,
if there's any heresy,
Chaos,
that's heresy.
like, you can have Chaos in a game and not make them playable, and it works fine. Like, just they'll be playable
well,
later.
that's true, yeah.
It's not like Chaos is meant to always be a playable faction. That's, nobody cares. There's always gonna be diehard fans. But the thing about Chaos that a lot of people like to forget, in my opinion, at least, so I say this in the situation of I'm explicitly thinking about the people who come out and say, oh, like, you can't do a Warhammer game without Chaos. Like, I'm talking directly to those people when I say, here's the thing. If you look at the Warhammer world and the stories told across it and the lore, Chaos doesn't show up that often. Like, when Chaos shows up, it's a big deal because of how rare it is, because of how powerful they are. Like, there's only a Chaos invasion of the old world, like, once every century on, like, a bad millennia. And sure, they've been getting more frequent in modern times, but, like, the thing about Chaos is you have to remember they are rare enough that the people in, like, Tilia and Estalia, a lot of them genuinely do not believe that Chaos is real.
Oh,
like,
wow,
they think it's a myth.
Didn't know that.
Because they're not that present of a force in a lot of parts of the world. Like, they know Norskins exist, sure, but if you come to them, you're like, there's demons of chaos and yada 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 yada. Like, plenty of people, even in the southern portions of the Empire, don't believe that A, they exist, or B, are a threat, because they're dumb, but also because you just don't see chaos that often. They're kind of the ultimate bad guy,
Yeah.
They're the final boss, not the regular fighters. Your typical enemies in the Warhammer world are your greenskins, your Norskins, and and your beastmen. Like, those are the big common enemies. Then you get into the really rare but scary guys like the Vampire Counts and the Warriors of Chaos. And then you have the race that, actively hides themselves, being the Skaven, and then the Dark Elves, who are very rarely encountered and survive.
Yeah, so...
I
haven't thought about it. It's okay, I see your point, I haven't thought about it like that. Yeah, it's
But I will say in defense of the people who would argue against me, like, just let it be known that I am always the man that if someone came to me and they said, okay, I will give you your dream game right now, but it's gonna have some problems, or you can wait 3 years and I'll give you a perfect version, I'd be like, yeah, I'll wait. But
Oh
I
yeah,
would
yeah,
rather you
definitely.
take longer and give me a perfect product than just give me a product.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree.
And the Warriors of Chaos are the exact opposite of that desire. Are you in range to shoot these Free Company militia?
You bet.
Okay,
It's coming down.
Because I want to get after those spearmen, but until these guys break, I don't want to risk getting shot. There we go. Now it's open season.
Yeah, the Outriders, another really fun unit. It's also because they look fucking awesome, like riding.
Oh, I love Outriders. Dob, I'll tell you who loves Outriders. Dob.
Yeah.
Like he was
guys,
committed on a spiritual level to making them work in competitive play, and he figured it out eventually, but it took a while. Switch the mortars onto a different target so I don't get friendly fired.
You can just ride in melee now. Once the bombs are go. Wait, three more coming.
I have to wait for the mortars to hit the ground. I guess I can go after the Free Company in the meantime.
115 kills on Balthazar, not bad.
Outriders can... Oh, okay, this must be an SFO change.
What?
I'm not used to Outriders shooting while moving.
They can shoot while moving. At least I think they can.
In vanilla, they have to hold still.
No. I am definitely certain they can just ride down and shoot. I'm definitely certain.
You know what? I think what I'm thinking of is just 360 line of shot.
Oh, they have 360?
360.
Yeah, these guys don't have 360 though.
I think maybe that's what I'm getting mixed up. You can hit the fast forward if you want.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
By the way, catch these pikemen.
Trying to clean up these survivors.
These pikemen, yeah. Yeah, like what you were saying. Like, I'm not saying that the Horde factions are bad. Like they are. I wouldn't say they are bad. I think they are like decent for what they are. It's just my opinion. In my opinion, they are not enjoyable.
Okay.
I definitely.
I can't argue against opinions.
But yeah, that's exactly like someone's opinion can be that empire building isn't enjoyable for them. They just much rather, you know, be the scourge of the world, and I can definitely understand that. It's just that, you know, it would I definitely I remember when Beastman first came out, I played as
227 kills.
Yeah. Well, it's on Ultra. Still good. I remember when Beastman first came out, I played as Malagor, but I wasn't like, you know, really looking at the like let's plays and such, and I thought that they can only have one army, and and
he starts off with 2, doesn't he?
Yeah, and exactly when I started the campaign, I was like, wait, why do I have 2? And that's when my why not immersion, but my enjoyment of the campaign broke, because I thought that you, as we talked, that you can have one army that you not really customize, but that is basically your war band. Like, you can recruit some units to make it, you know, quote-unquote customizable, but it's this one doom stack that you carry around that can, you know, of course now it seems stupid, but it can somehow beat even better armies, etc, etc. But straight up, when you have 2 armies from the get-go, it just stopped being so enjoyable, because at that point you have 2 hordes, and I don't know why, but for me, I just wanted one warband that goes around the world and, you know, like, sees the sights.
So, to just put a note on that, you know what I do when I play Beastman campaign every time is I always tell my side army, I always immediately have them come to my main army, I absorb all the units, disband the other lord, and I will just rampage around the entire game with one army. Like, that's literally what I do until I, like, you know, build up enough money that I can sustain having multiple hordes. Because the stupid thing, here's the biggest thing I hate about horde gameplay, is that, like, I totally get the idea that empires have supply lines, so they suffer penalties from having more armies. Yes. Why do hordes suffer from that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, two hordes don't give a shit about supporting each other. They're just completely separate entities.
Especially beastmen.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even the Warriors of Chaos, it's not like you have, like, supply trains connecting your hordes. Nobody cares. Like, I hate that mechanic. The upkeep increase for each army. Like, if you have a big empire, sure, it makes sense. I will say, though, the best thing about the Beastmen, in my opinion, is that I think they've actually aged really well, campaign-wise. Obviously, there are a lot of updates I want. Like, my biggest wish list for horde armies in Warhammer. Okay, and we want to do United They Stand, right?
Yes.
The biggest thing for me that I can think of off the top of my head is that I really like that, although I do want them to get updates and more units and more buildings and yada yada, the fact that with Mortal Empires the map is so crazy big now, like, one of the only races, like, pretty much the only race you can realistically explore with as much as you desire is the Beastmen. You know, because the Warriors of Chaos can't hide, so they're doomed if they try and do that. Norska, you have to conquer the entire, at least a pretty substantial amount of the continent, and you will have, you know, Bretonnia. And with the Queen and the Crone DLC, there's actually some pretty aggressive factions towards Norska now. You know, it's not, the AI doesn't leave you alone anymore. You know, they changed the programming so that Lewin and Hellebron and I think Nordland, they attack Norska like crazy, and they'll conquer it too. They won't just like take it and leave. They'll actually like start expanding. I like when Turin played through his Wolfric Mortal Empires campaign. That's one thing he was really struggling with, was that Hellebron just kept coming at him. So, and that's something I really like about the Beastmen. You know, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I want to just go attack Lustria for a while. Like, I can just do that. I don't have to defend anything. I don't have to, like, wait till I have some kind of thing. Like, I can just go.
That's true. That's true. Also, like, another thing that I find, well, I can't be, you know, angry about that, but what really I find annoying playing against Beastmen is that they basically, you know, have the same amount of units as you can have. So basically you are fighting an army, really a big horde. Like, you almost never encounter, like, quote-unquote, a beast band as they usually would be in, you know, the
I
lore.
totally agree with that. Yeah, I talked about this in my Future of the Greenskins video, of that clearly the way they wanted to make those armies seem massive was by the wall mechanic. But, because they both have it, but it's a really bad system, honestly. Like, I almost would prefer if hordes just had more slots, like 25 slots instead of just 20. Like, even just 5 additional slots would make them feel terrifyingly huge.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, and definitely I agree with this when it comes to, like, the wars or something like that. But what I actually meant was, like, you know, when you think of the Beastmen, as someone who read the Gotrek and Felix books, when I think of the Beastmen, I think of, like, a small, you know, band of, let's say, like, 30 or 40 ambushing someone, you know.
Oh, you're talking about smaller armies.
Yeah, I'm talking about smaller armies. It's, of course, like, when you play as the Grand Hierophant Katep, you have, like, this one rowing band of beastmen that is basically already almost full, and you have to wait like crazy long till you can actually challenge them.
Would you be willing to give me like a single melee unit so I can
Yep.
deal with the reinforcements?
Yep. Take these guys.
I should, considering how wounded they are, I'll just need like 1 or 2 units. Okay, great.
Okay. And what's this? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from on that.
So, like,
Go ahead.
I heard recently a good suggestion, which of course carries with it many problems and you know, other things to worry about, but I still think it would be a cool idea, at least in some sense, which is making heroes be able to wield like 5 to 10 units and making them, you know, have like their own little band of merry men. Let's say like a paladin being able to recruit 5 units of knights, having that little band army rowing around Bretonia much faster than a regular army would, you know, patrolling the Bretonia's lands, and having this in many different, basically with all factions. So you know what I mean. But of course that carries with it many problems. Like, let's say this would basically mean the AI would annoy the shit out of you all the time. You know, with like a goblin big boss just slipping past you and raiding all your lands. I definitely see the problems with this system, but I also think in the end it would definitely give the game a different dimension. You know, having just these small battles. Like, I noticed that I'm not the only one who really enjoys the first few battles in a campaign, because you field limited resources and your foes field limited resources, and so the battles are much more tactical and thought out, instead of just, you know, let's rush my things against your things and see who comes out on top. What do you think about that possible mechanic of like...
So, personally, that's not really something that I think I would be as big of a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my mind, kind of the actions that agents can take is kind of representative of the idea of a small band, because most of the stuff that they do would be like fucking impossible for a single guy to pull off. Even for like some of the rather large heroes. But the I guess the big thing for me is that like the thing about Warhammer is when you have stories like Gotrek and Felix that focus more on individuals, then they tend to do a lot of things as they're wandering the wilderness and what have you, where they attack, you know, where, you know, they're like a small caravan of like, you know, maybe 20 people. And yeah, they get attacked by a small band of beastmen that ambush them. But I think the thing is that causes a problem is that the scope of Total War Warhammer from like a nation perspective, where, you know, you have settlements and armies, it's too small scale. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, the beastmen that would be attacking a town, beastmen aren't going to attack a town without a full herd. Like, it's just not going to happen. They might, like, you know, try and sneak in and steal something, or, you know, kidnap some babies to eat or what have you, but they're not gonna launch any kind of worthy assault against anything that could even be remotely considered a town, because they don't have the manpower for it. You know, when beastmen are going to war, they travel in colossal herds. Like, numbers is a big deal for beastmen. They tend to outnumber their opponents, and they're good at ambushing, which is a really scary combination. You know, as opposed to like greenskins, who are really big at numbers, but unless you're talking about like night goblins or forest goblins, then ambushing is really not their style. You know, they'll just come at you.
Yeah, as I said, like this isn't something I think is crucial or something that I definitely
it's an
want.
interesting idea, but I don't think that for the way I enjoyed the game, it wouldn't be very high on my priority list if even on it. There would be so many other things.
Yeah, like in the end, the game is called Total War. Like, it shouldn't be like its main focus or secondary focus shouldn't be on like small battles.
Yeah,
but
well, and here's the thing: like the small battle kind of thing that you're talking about literally sounds like Mordheim. Where you have small bands that are fighting over in a much more dynamic and personal way. And like the tabletop game Mordheim, oh my god, it's so fun and I love it. And like the way all the factions work is really unique and interesting. I wish the video game had done better than it did because it was a great game. It was a solid game, but it just didn't get enough support.
Oh yeah, I remember watching some Let's Plays of it, and indeed it looked pretty good. But now when I think about it, I just heard it slowly, go under, as basically fade out of public eye.
It has fantastic mechanics, and it's fun and interesting, but I don't think it came out at the best time because A, Warhammer wasn't as massively popular as it is now, and B, if I remember correctly, it came out in a ballpark of XCOM 2, which it's literally like a competing title.
Yeah, and XCOM is like
that's a game
4X game.
Yeah, that's a game that should have been released during a lull.
XCOM is not a 4X game.
XCOM style games.
Yeah, but turn combat game. Yeah, like I definitely remember
turn-based percentage combat. Yeah.
Yeah. I would take XCOM over Mordheim any day. Not that Mordheim is bad, but XCOM is still XCOM.
Yeah, like I prefer Mordheim, but I'm also a hack, so. Like if someone came to me with like a tricycle, but it was Warhammer themed, and they're like, "You can have this or a new car," I'd be like,
okay.
No regrets.
Okay, and I think I'll tell you. Like I'm I'm very wary of telling you this story because I notice you scream heresy a lot, but man, if there's something you'd scream heresy at, it's definitely my first encounter with painting models.
Dude, here's the thing. At the end of the day, after the end times and Age of Sigmar happened, I don't care anymore. Too much has happened to care that much.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so my encounter with Warhammer, as I said, it started with the Godric and Felix books, and I basically read the first 3 books. Then I moved on to Dragon Slayer, and of course Beast Slayer. Then I hit like a roadblock with the Vampire Slayer because that novel has much different pacing than all the other novels, and I don't know, it just felt a bit off compared to the other books, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Vampire Slayer was definitely a very different style.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying it was bad per se, but it's also the Godric and Felix book I read the least of. Least.
Well, it's literally 60% about vampire politics.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I didn't care, like, at that age, and I still don't think I would care now, but at that age I didn't care at all with, like, about, like, Ulrika slowly falling for the vampire, you know? It just felt like bad teenage girl romance for me, and I just was like, ugh, just get back to the fighting already.
Empire's blessing.
But I still like I can still recognize that the book has its merits, and yeah, of course. After that, there's the Giant Slayer, right?
Yeah.
Giant Slayer, where you have, that's the book where Teclis is, right? And where they go to Lustria. Or is it no?
They
no,
go to Albion.
Albion. Oh, it really is in Albion. I that's like the second.
Yeah, Giant
most
Slayer
read book
is
for me.
Giant Slayer is the prequel to the Albion Crisis.
Oh, well, the tabletop campaign revolves around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Giant Slayer was the build up to it.
Oh, hey. Oh, Grey Seal Thankwall is in the chat. Yeah, that's one character from the Gotrek and Felix novels I definitely enjoyed a lot. Oh man, like what was the name of that? Of like his, you know, second-hand man.
Oh, the one that turns into a giant mutant.
Wait, I think I got it. It's Lurk, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, also, like, once again, I don't know how King did it, but he made the parts with Lurk, how basically he, you know, stores away on the spirit of Grungni, and how he basically, you know, kills dwarves to feed himself, how he basically, you know, it's basically just a few page, always it's like a few page thing about Lurk shitting himself. Then, you know, he kills someone, he eats them, and it's
we have a
still
dilemma about if we want active beastmen or not. I'm thinking yes.
Yes. It makes the beastmen basically pop out much more in like the mid game. And I know what I wanted to say. Like, Lurk is supposed to be, well, not like a bad guy, but you're definitely not supposed to, like, you know, side with him. But he made his mini chapters so engaging. Like, I was always curious, like, what is going to happen with that guy, especially when he started mutating.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing about him is that he kind of, the idea of what he represented kind of became a trope in Skaven novels, where, you know, with Queek Headtaker, you have a similar relationship between him and his lieutenant Ska Bloodtail.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, in the Gracier Thankwall trilogy, the one that happens independent of Gotrek and Felix, pretty much every book there's someone very similar to Lurk in it. You know, someone that is close, like physically close to the Gracier, and has really hysterical and interesting side chapters. And it basically culminates in them trying to kill Thankwall and failing due to some ridiculous shenanigan or another.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, the first book of Thankwall, which I think is just called Gracier, the first book of the trilogy takes place immediately after the events of Lurk, because of the slave rebellion he accidentally caused it, or his servant caused in Hellpit.
Oh yeah, by the way, I remember reading about that rebellion. It was in Dragonslayer, I think, or maybe Beastslayer, doesn't matter. Basically, when Lurk causes the slave rebellion, I think I remember that basically they just said that they squashed the rebellion, or basically it was sorted out, but I don't think they gave like an answer of what really happened with Lurk. Do you know anything about that?
They explore what happened to him a little bit in Gracier, which the long story short is that he died. That's really all they go into it.
Oh, how engaging. Well,
run straight forward.
What can you do? But yeah, okay. After, and I think Giant Slayer was the last William King, Gotrek and Felix, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because after that there's, I think.
Yeah, I think that was his last book.
Because after that there's, I think it's Orc Slayer or Manslayer. I don't know. I think it's Orc Slayer.
Giant Slayer.
Yeah, it's Orc Slayer.
Yeah. And Manslayer was the last one that took place in the pre seventh edition continuity because that built up to the Storm of Chaos.
Yeah, the Orc Slayer. Very
Orc
different.
Slayer was wild. Like it was
yeah.
it was a very wild and crazy book.
Yeah, I remember really enjoying it, but once again, like with the Vampire Slayer, much different in tone. It feels much more like a
it's more like a
Lovecraftian Lovecraftian story.
With a lot of stealth.
Yeah, I remember I watched the video you did with Lady Turin.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Sleeper was pretty interesting.
And I of course I read the book, but I never like dug deeper into like, you know, go to the forums, go to the wiki to like learn more about what the fuck that thing actually was. And I was fucking astonished that it was like, you know, some ancient insectoid race, basically.
So the funny thing about the Sleeper is it only exists in that book. Like it is
well, of course,
last showing in the Warhammer Fantasy universe.
Yeah, and it's of course I really enjoy the Sleeper, but I think it's for the best that it's like not anywhere else, because it's definitely a completely different style, and you know,
it's also like insanely overpowered.
yeah, exactly. But it's something much more fitting into like a sci-fi, something that would much more fit into 40k rather than fantasy, because like this is too OP for fantasy. Wait, did they actually kill the thing? Yeah, they did, right?
Yeah, the Sleeper dies.
But like, damn,
they get lucky.
Yeah.
Sotek needed luck to kill it because that thing was retarded.
Yeah. Then I think there's like Manslayer. What are the rest of?
Manslayer happens after that, and then they get into the new continuity, like the one that takes place 20 years later, which I believe starts with Elf Slayer.
It's then there's like Shaman Slayer.
Yeah. And next is Shaman Slayer, followed by Zombie Slayer.
Yeah, I read Shaman Slayer. I haven't read Zombie Slayer yet. I don't know, because
Shaman Slayer and Zombie Slayer were really interesting and unique because it's the only two-parter in the entire series.
Oh really?
Well, yeah, because Shaman Slayer is literally just a build-up to Zombie Slayer.
Yeah, except for Vampire Slayer, I read all of William King's books like definitely more than a dozen times. With Nathan Long's books, I definitely read the Orc Slayer and Manslayer several times, but after that I don't think I read Shaman Slayer. Oh wait, there's the Elf Slayer too.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, and that's basically...
Elf Slayer was really funny in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the only thing that really sticks out about that book for me is how they use like the boat to walk underwater. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, the part where Gotrek actually flexes his engineering skills.
and the part about the dwarf slaves, that mini story, like, you know, the dwarves actually then shaving their heads and taking the, well, not taking the Slayer oath, but basically like
I mean, that book actually, in my opinion, that book had the best interaction between Thanquol, Gotrek, and Felix.
That's the book where Thanquol encounters them and, like, you know, blames them for all his failings.
Yeah, well, it's the only book where they actually talk to him.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like, what's the line? Like, he basically like, he meets them and they're like, "Who the fuck are you?" And
Yeah.
and he's like, "I am this. I planned the Nuln thing. I was here and here and here." And I remember this line. Felix said something like, "Do Skaven live that long?" And I was like, Thankwall like loses his shit. So fucking, oh my god, Thankwall is awesome.
That's also the book where Thankful gets his hand chopped off.
I don't remember that.
It's at the very end. It's because the final battle is funny enough between Thankful and Gotrek.
Joseph, you are still baffled how there is no ant or insect race in fantasy. Like,
I agree with what Joseph said about it. It's probably because of mids. Like, it would just be too much of a crossover.
yeah, something
Plus,
like...
I think the thing is, I don't, and I could be wrong about this, but I don't think insectoid races as like major powers in most fantasy universes, I don't think that really became popular till a while later. Because I mean, you got to remember, Warhammer didn't really add any new races after
Skaven?
Wait, yeah, like even when they added the Ogre Kingdoms, it was a new playable race, but ogres had already been like a long established member of the world.
Oh, yeah, I meant you. I thought you meant like added, as in like into the fantasy genre concept. But you meant just like into the lore.
Yeah, I mean just like into the lore of Warhammer.
Hey there, Kenna? Kenna, okay. No, thanks for the like. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Yeah, definitely as much as...
finally I've got some replenishment. That's good.
Yeah, as much as people would, compare any insectoid race in fantasy with Tyranids, that's like basically what happened with the squats in 40k, right? That's why, like, Games Workshop, scrapped them in later editions. You know what I mean? The squats?
Yeah.
Yeah, as cool as they were, I have to agree they just don't fit into the... Dwarves don't really fit into the 40k universe.
I was beyond thrilled when they brought the squats back though for Necromunda.
Oh, I don't think they shouldn't exist as some like
well, I just mean like the fact that they gave them a new model after all these years, like that was amazing.
I don't say that they shouldn't exist as something like the what do they call them? Subhumans? Basically, like
Moon banner is not correct. That is an ugly banner.
Which one?
The Skarsnik.
You have Skarsnik there?
Yeah, you should be able to see him. He's just south of Gelt.
Oh, so wait. I don't think that's actually not Skarsnik's. That's the...
Oh, they switched them.
Yeah, they switched. Skarsnik starts at Karak 8 Peaks in Steel Faith.
Oh,
and
okay,
here there are the mutinous Gits from Karak 8 Peaks in Vanilla.
That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. And... yeah, let's recruit some more shit. Let's recruit another crossbow, another spear.
Man, not starting with the gem mine from...
is really slow, right?
So it's just like, I'm so poor.
Yeah, exactly. I remember...
Man, they need to update SFO's rune crafting system, because there's a great rune crafting system in vanilla, but they're still using like Canopic Jar.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that's about.
I'm assuming they just haven't gotten around to it.
Maybe.
Because clearly they're using the system CA made.
Exactly. That's why I find it so weird that it's basically still the Canopic Jar icon.
Oldest friends of the Empire.
Man, I love the mini dialogues during diplomacy. Yeah, why not? especially
Plain Jalstock? The fuck?
what did you say?
Nothing. I'm griping about the banner mod. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Joseph says, from what I've heard of you guys talking about Gotrek and Felix, Felix sounds that like he has armor made of plot.
No, Felix is just really good at. Felix basically spends every book having sex with some random female character, typically, and then spending the rest of the book, like 20% of the book is about a girl for him, and then 80% of the book is him just trying not to die.
Yeah.
Like they do the thing about Felix that's so great is he's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a fairly skilled swordsman, but he doesn't have any like crazy powers or anything.
Yeah,
And
only like
the authors do a very good job of making it feel like Felix is always hanging on by like the skin of his teeth.
yeah. Like the only thing he has is, you know, the rune sword Karagul. I don't know if
which is kind of been a downside. At
yeah,
times.
yeah. It, for those who don't know, Gotrek is one of the, well, based on how you look at it, either one of the best or worst slayers among the dwarves, because he basically slayed almost anything that can walk in Warhammer universe, but he hasn't still managed to find a glorious death in combat. And Felix is basically just a young poet who promised Gotrek to record his saga of his death
while drunk. It was
while drunk. Gotrek saved his life, and then they got drunk together, and Felix, in his delusions, promised him to travel with him until he finds worthy death, and then he would of course record the story and then publish it as his poem or story, basically whatever you want to see it. The problem is Felix, as Sotek said, he, like, the only thing he's got going for him is that he's a decent fighter. There are mentions of him doing sword fighting at the academy he studied at, and he can hold his own, but he isn't, like, you know, a powerhouse. He has a runic sword that he gains in the book 1 from a Templar.
It should be noted he does get stronger later in the series, but
yeah,
there's an explanation for why that happens. It doesn't just drop out of the sky.
Yeah. So the sword, the runic sword, Karagul, what it does, it was basically, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, Sotek, it was forged as a dragon slayer weapon.
Yeah.
But so what it does is, whenever its wielder encounters a dragon, they will get filled with like righteous rage against the beast and gain some form of increased strength and stamina in effort to kill it. But the problem is they also gain like this berserk rage against the dragon, which can of course lead them to, you know, get fucking killed. So basically, yeah, you get some
literally a classic double-edged sword.
Oh yeah, I never thought about it like that. Yeah, exactly. So basically you gain some extra strength and stamina, but you are you basically get out of control when you see a dragon. Of course, they only meet a dragon twice in the books, like in the Dragon Slayer and in the Elf Slayer.
Yeah, it's not even actually a dragon, it's just like a distant relation.
Yeah.
But it can block dragon fire, so that's pretty cool. Felix uses it to protect the spirit of Grungni during the fight against the Chaos Dragon.
Yeah, definitely, and so yeah, that's basically it. And then I think during the Manslayer book when they meet the wizard Max Schreiber.
Yeah. Well.
Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He basically, like alludes to the possibility of Gotrek's rune X somehow prolonging their life and maybe like granting them some increased strength. Is that how? I of course.
Yeah, it essentially keeps them in good condition. Is the long story short.
Yeah.
Which when you're perpetually kept in good condition and you spend your life fighting the scariest freaking things in the universe, you'll eventually just get really good.
Yeah. Oh, real Sutha Ek. What do you mean? This is my second account with your average chariot video. I don't know how to.
Yeah, I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they also revealed that Gotrek. I don't know if this is canon or maybe this was a like. I think I heard this somewhere. But isn't it somewhere alluded to that Gotrek's X is one of the two X of Grangni?
Oh yeah, it's 100%. Yeah.
Okay. And the other is in the possession of Thorgrim,
it's an
right?
axe of it's an axe of Grimnir's.
Oh, Grimnir. Okay, sorry.
Forge, but yeah, it's a god weapon.
Yeah, and the other is in the possession of Thorgrim, right?
Yeah, Thorgrim. When Grimnir left to try and close the gates at the north during the Great Incursion, he gave one of his axes to his son, and then he took the other one north and was never heard of again. Presumably.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Although as a god he technically still existed and was doing stuff, it seems that his mortal form was destroyed in the Chaos Waste, and his axe just languished in a cave until Gotrek found it.
Yeah. Hold that thought. Of course you can use it, Surthag. It's like I don't care. It's Surthag isn't my intellectual property. Even if it was, like, use whatever name you want, man.
Think of all the meme dollars you could have.
Yeah. Do what you want. I remember in Demon Slayer, like how that's where they talk about how Gotrek found the axe in that cave, and they also say in that book that when they try to take this. When they try to reach the lost holds in the Chaos Waste before, they used, and I only thing I remember is like they referring to it as metal wagons, maybe something like that.
Yeah, that's essentially what they were. They were like really shitty steam tanks, more reliable but not as powerful. Yeah,
that's what I thought. So basically, we have some sort of a steam tank for the dwarves.
Yeah, they have, like, the dwarves even have like a really famous, well, in the lore it's famous, obviously. Not many people know about it because it's only in the army books. But there's literally a giant drill engine that they used to burrow through a mountain range to connect two holds. And it was like well designed enough that not only did it successfully complete the job, but it like slaughtered shitloads of greenskins on the way. Because they even had like a giant crab claw arm, and it would literally just like pick up greenskins while crushing them and just throw them over a chasm.
I also think I read somewhere or heard somewhere, I don't remember exactly, that the dwarves in like the proper golden age of Karazankor, that they actually have some sort of like golems.
Yeah.
Powered by rune magic.
Dwarves had some really powerful golems. They were huge. But the problem is, long story short, so the Great Incursion, when that happened, the golems were all functioning and working fine. But as most people know, the culmination, or the end of the war, was when the High Elves unleashed the Vortex in a desperate bid to try and drain most of the magic from the world, and therefore make it so the demons couldn't physically manifest anymore. But there were some side effects. One of which being that there was no longer enough winds of magic in the world to sustain the most powerful runes, like the ones that are used to make golems work.
Oh yeah, I see.
So the golems all basically became inert.
Uh-huh.
There are some, according to the lore, there are some that have the ability to still function, but the dwarves, these are the ones that were like buried places, locked deep away, and the dwarves like don't even know where they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. And of course...
But, yeah, the golems were very powerful creations. But, I mean, even looking at, like, the War of Vengeance, like, the War of Vengeance was the last time the dwarves tried to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because the book talks about it. I think it's the very last book. The strongest rune lord at the time, the strongest and the wisest, he kind of made a desperate bid to try and see if he could resurrect the golem, because that was his like goal in life, was to bring the golems back.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, at the very end, near the end of the final book, probably more like halfway, he tries to bring back one of the golems using some anvils of doom and like a fuckload of magic. And basically, he unleashes so much magic trying to awaken the runes that it just backfires. And the thing about dwarves is if they use magic, if they lose control of it, it will literally turn their bodies to stone because they're so naturally resistant to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he just petrified into a statue and died.
Oh. Yeah, I knew that was the case with the Chaos Dwarves, but so now now I learned it's the case with all the dwarves.
Yeah, it's a racial quality. It's just the Chaos Dwarves are the only ones who are willing to risk it.
Okay, I see.
Like, dwarves could cast magic if they really wanted to. It's just they don't, because it's exceedingly dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
And at least the at least the classic dwarves, they don't like working with something they can't control.
Oh yeah,
like, to an insane degree.
I read that in one of the army books. That they are basically, yeah, exactly. That's basically how they described it. Like they don't like don't like working with something they can't control. And of course, Karakanko got fucked even more when the Slan Mage priests moved the World's Edge Mountains, right?
They moved some tectonic plates.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Okay, even better.
Like, they were shifting continents, but the World's Edge Mountains is on a fault line. So when they did that, that's why it caused those really big earthquakes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
It wasn't a completely bad thing, though, because while it did screw over the dwarves, it also screwed over the Skaven, because at the same time that the Slan were enacting their ritual, the Skaven had completed as a race, their first Doomsday device, and they were in the middle of unleashing it when the earthquake happened, and it caused it to detonate and explode. And it reduced most of Skaven Blight into like just a big crater, and it nearly wiped out the entire Skaven as a species. That's why they immediately then made a decree for all the Skaven clans to leave Skaven Blight and go their own ways to establish bases. That way their race can never be wiped out by a singular event.
Also, at that point, they were like mostly holed up in Skaven Blight.
Oh, they were entirely in Skaven Blight, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they originate from Skaven Blight, and they didn't leave it for a long time.
As I said, you learn something new every day. And yeah.
And then they realized that was really stupid.
And about the Doomsday device, any like clue as to what it was?
The only thing I remember about it is that what it the long story short of what it did is if it had properly been unleashed, it would have done something along the lines of like severely scorched or damaged the planet's surface, like globally, and it basically would have made it so all the races that were on the surface would have been pretty much wiped out.
Oh,
Or
I
at
see, I
least
see.
crippled to the point that the Skaven could have easily started taking over. You know, typical Skaven shenanigans.
Yeah, of course, of course. Just another Tuesday for the Skaven. Yeah. What else from the Gotrek and Felix books we can talk about? Oh, and basically what I wanted to start talking about like an hour ago. My first encounter with like the wider Warhammer world, I'd say. Like when I read the Gotrek and Felix books, I thought it was basically just that. It was just those novels. And of course there were like advertisement for other Warhammer books in the series, but I never thought it was anything more than just, you know, a literary fantasy world. But then I started to go to a local, let's say, fantasy store. It wasn't a Games Workshop store because we don't have any of those where I live.
Don't kill his general in the battle.
What?
In the
okay.
battle. Quick.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, you never want to kill the general. You just want to get him really low. That way, the next time you fight, if you fight his army again, you can just kill him right at the start, and it causes a big morale penalty.
Okay, so that store, it basically sold everything from Magic the Gathering to comics to, of course, Warhammer models. And yeah, they had some, like, you know, boxes of like unpainted and not put together, basically like proper Games Workshop models, but they also had like a place where people who actually wanted to sell their models could, like, you know, display them, and if the store would like...
Yeah, that was pretty common in most hobby stores.
Yeah, so the store would just place it for them, and if someone bought it, they would, like, you know, pay them some cut of it. And I remember first seeing it, and I didn't know it was a game. I basically thought it was just like a hobby with models, like, you know, train building. Like, I didn't know at all it was some kind of tabletop game. And so I bought some models. I think it was some basic zombies and skeletons, vampire counts, skeletons and zombies, and I I remember, of course, I didn't buy any like proper painting tools or what's it called, paints, like the... Yeah, it's but basically, like, you know, the Games Workshop approved paints. It's like,
oh yeah,
paints.
the Citadel paints.
Yeah, Citadel paints. I didn't buy any of those, and what I did, before you kill me, keep in mind I was like a little kid back then. I took some permanent markers and painted it with those.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was fucking hideous. I still have some of those. I of course, like, they are mostly broken and such. But I just recently found some of those, and oh my god, they are hideous.
I mean, my first models, my original Lizardmen, my 5th edition Lizardmen, I painted them, sure, but they look like shit. Like, I still have them, and I'll never forget. So the Croxagores, you'd buy them. They back then they were sold 1 per pack because they were pretty big. So they were sold one per pack. But the super funny thing about them was that so they were a very awkward model because the way it worked was that you would have the Croxgor's body, and it would be everything except one of his arms and his right arm, his left hand, and his weapon would not be attached. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then what you had to do is you had to glue on his left hand into his arm socket, which was holding his weapon, and it also had his right hand on the other side of it. Then there was a separate arm piece that you had to glue between the model and the weapon on the handle.
Okay.
And when I was young, I remember I was trying to move my models or something, and I dropped my Croxagore. Like, I dropped all my models. But because the Croxagore was metal and a piece of crap, that arm piece broke off, and I completely lost it. So I literally had a Croxagore who did not have a right arm, but his right hand was still attached to the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So what young me decided to do is I just got my blood red paint, and I just painted, like, streaks of gore onto his arm socket and the hand. So he apparently somehow got both ends chopped off, but his hand was still holding the weapon and he was still wielding it. I still feel that model when I play tabletop with my lizardmen. People always love that model. He's pretty famous in my community.
That's pretty damn fun.
All right, I'm going to put you in charge of the Slayers if you wouldn't mind going for a
of course,
for a flank action.
Mm-hmm. Also,
especially if you could take care of the Wolf Riders.
Mm-hmm.
If you manage to catch them with the regular Slayers, and maybe have the Giant Slayers go after the Squigs.
Yep, I'll try. Surfer Ek, the real Surfer Ek, has a question for you. Can the Great Horned Red be killed? But before you say anything, if I can get a swing at this, it's basically like with the Chaos Gods. As long as the idea survives, then the Great Horned Red survives, right?
So it's a little more complicated in like a nuanced sense. Oh, I've got these Wolf Riders. You can just go bother surrounding the army. I didn't think he was just going to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
Normally the AI has a little bit more tact.
And you were saying about the Horned Red?
Anyway, so the thing about Warhammer Gods is that on one hand, we know for a fact they can be hurt because it's happened before. It is possible for gods to be wounded. So theoretically, it's also possible for gods to be killed because many of the gods fear death and actively avoid it. You know, in the sense of, like, the Chaos Gods are constantly trying to kill one another. Mm-hmm. They're not very good at it because they're kind of just they're all just different sides of the same box. But the thing that makes it really complicated is that, according to what we know in the lore, Warhammer Gods are basically just manifestations of emotion in the realm of chaos.
Yeah.
Like, they're not actual beings. They're well, they are, but they aren't. Like, once they exist, they exist. But their creation seems almost entirely founded on, you know, emotions and things like that. The Horned Rat, though, is a very unique exception in that we don't know. The Horned Rat is literally a situation of chicken and the egg. We don't know if the Skaven came first and their beliefs created the Horned Rat, or if the Horned Rat existed first and the Skaven are a result of his machinations. Because unlike many of the other races, the Skaven were created very deliberately. They're not like Beastmen where they just happen because of Chaos's craziness. The Stranger who made them very specifically set in a series of events that caused them to come into existence. But so in light of that, it is my honest belief that the Great Horned Rat was not originally a god. I think he was just a demon who took advantage of a situation and became more. But so could he be killed? Yeah, I think he can. It would be hysterically difficult and practically impossible, because the problem is, if you did kill him, so long as there are like not like, let's say 500 Skavens still alive, their beliefs in him could easily bring him back from the dead.
Yeah, that's what I
And the
thought.
thing is, the more powerful the Skaven are, the more powerful he is. So there's no point really in even trying to kill him until you've basically wiped out the Skaven as a species. Like, it would be useless to try.
Yeah, basically. Like, definitely not that detailed, but that's mostly what I thought. For some, like, conspiracy theories, quote-unquote, any idea where Sigmar went?
Yeah, so the thing that happened with Sigmar is, we know, so when Sigmar got older, notably older, you know, he gave up his crown, set up the established rules for how to elect a new emperor, and then literally left all of his shit and went west. Or no, he went east, because he was intending to go visit the dwarves. But he never made it. So what is believed, what the most evidence supports happens, especially with some shit they threw in for the end times. Basically what seems to have occurred is that he did indeed go east, but somewhere along the journey he either died or was basically scooped up by Tzeentch. Because what happened is, whether he physically died or not, some event occurred where he battled against Tzeentch, and Tzeentch and his eternal, you know, bullshit crazy abilities basically took Sigmar's soul and forced him into the Wind of Azir, which is the Wind of Heavens. And basically bound him inside of one of the Winds of Magic, which is why in the end times, when the vortex breaks and all the winds break free, we end up finding out that Sigmar was like sentient inside of Azir the entire time. I don't know how Tzeentch did that, and I'm not sure, like, it was kind of a good plan, because it made sure that Sigmar could not directly intervene, because he couldn't manifest in the world, even though he had a ton of believers. So, like, Sigmar could bless people with his power, but he couldn't pull, like, what some of the other gods do, and, like, physically show up as a person to, like, help people or fight or become the emperor again. You know, he couldn't pull a Gilles the Breton or a Orion and Ariel. You know, he couldn't do that crap because of what Tzeentch did to him, until the end times were obviously he was kind of set free. So that seems to be mainly what happened, is that he was essentially imprisoned and forced to do nothing but watch. And it seemed like he was able to slip out bits of his power, you know, which is how we get warrior priests and blessings and some of the crazy Sigmar shit we've seen over the centuries. But that seems to be the main gist of it.
Okay, I see.
Personally, I think he just died. Like, I think either old age, I think his mortal form just passed. Either from, because he was functionally human until after he went east, and then he became something ridiculous. Granted, before then he was pretty ridiculous too. We have a record of that when Sigmar fought his final battle, which was against Morcar the Uniter, who was the first ever chosen. Sigmar, like, the battle between the two of them was literally like creating craters and leveling forests from the blows they were throwing at each other.
Well, damn. And I thought his fight with Nagash was cool.
Oh, Sigmar won that. So that, like, I love the way they did that, because his fight with Nagash, Sigmar barely pulled that off. Like, it was, oh man, Like, he had to trick Nagash to beat him, which was the funniest part of that whole ordeal.
Ah, poor Nagash. Like, I definitely enjoy Nagash as one of the most fun bad guys. Maybe like at least characters. Like I really enjoy.
Oh, I love Nagash.
Yeah, me too. Because for what he actually like did for the for all that he did, like basically creating an entire new lore of magic. You know, like necromancy and
yeah, and creating two completely unique undead race. Like, he invented undeath.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, try beating that bitch. Yeah, Nagash, like, it's just one would say like an overpowered character, but still, like, I once again, it's so cool that he started off as just a measly current priest, even though he, like, you know, was of royal blood, but still, again, a mere human achieved something completely ridiculous as, you know, as this is. Like, that's what I like, oh shit, I don't know what I just clicked off. Oh, Marian, okay, good, that's what I wanted to click off.
It'll show up in your event tab if you click back on.
I accidentally clicked what I would click either way, so good on me. And for some reason the mounts unlocked at level 2 mod isn't working, which, who cares. And okay, let's click these two.
You know what? It probably isn't working on Gelt, because I bet after they made that mod is when CA went in and edited his Pegasus to be Quicksilver.
Hey, I think you're right. I remember it worked with other
Yeah, it worked
characters.
with Krokar when we were testing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I bet it's a unique problem to Gelt.
I am innocent. No peace, just war.
And Sotek would who will like as god or person, by the way? Like, who do we like of all the gods and characters in Warhammer, who do we like the most? Is that what you mean? And let's just auto-resolve this.
I would love to be auto-resolving. It's just I have Slayers in my army, and all of mine are like, you know how it is with Slayers.
Yeah, of course.
You're like, oh, I'll just auto-resolve. I'm gonna win, and it's like all your Slayers died. It's like, ow.
I am ready. Are you?
I have to say, I don't know if it's because of the insane amount of mods that I'm using in my normal, well, quote-unquote normal. When I play solo campaigns, I use like over 60 mods, but I never encountered that all of your artillery dying bug, you know?
I never had it either.
No, okay, so...
it was a bug that... I'm not 100% sure what it was. It was possible to replicate it, but it basically just happened under really specific circumstances. But they were very common circumstances, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to certain armies more than others. I think it was almost exclusively a Dwarf and Tomb King problem.
Yeah, like it seems with bugs and glitches, it always seems like it exclusively happens to some people, and it's not like it happens only rarely, but to some people it seems like it happens all the time. But then again there are people who never encounter it.
Subreddit and stuff, there are totally people that will come out and report bugs that they really hate, and it's literally just a mod.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in the base game.
Okay, Surthaeg, I mean kill Greathorn Red, and who will like as person like the who hates Greathorn Red? I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of you, I just seriously don't know.
This English is a little suspect, yes.
Yeah. Who hates the Greathorn Red?
The biggest opponent of the Greathorn Rat is Sotek.
Oh, of course,
Sotek
of
and the
course.
Great Horned Rat are like mortal enemies.
And Joseph, no, I don't play the Age of Sigmar. I haven't played tabletop either, and I know only like surface level lore and background of the Age of Sigmar. I don't hate it. I just haven't had any opportunity to, or like any incentive to like go out and be like, oh, now I want to, get to know more about this. I just never had like the craving to know
Don't
more
give
about
me
it.
any units this time because I'm gonna be doing some real quick.
Okay. Once again, like I don't hate Age of Sigmar. I just haven't, as of yet, I haven't had an experience when I would be like, okay, I want to go to Age of Sigmar.
is very interesting,
Mhm.
but I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a blind spot until it enters the gaming market.
Mm-hmm.
Will Sotek like after killing Great Horned Rat and his followers as Norskin?
I have no idea what.
I don't understand the question.
I'm sorry, man. I have no idea what you mean. Like, I have some idea, but it doesn't seem to be what you mean. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, this is the main thing.
I will say, I personally enjoy Age of Sigmar a ton. Like, I genuinely love it now. But I know it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. And I think also the biggest thing is, for a lot of people, and I totally get this, they're not really interested in
high fantasy,
getting involved into the game until like their favorite fantasy race is back.
Oh yeah, they still don't have
like
much.
we're 2 years in and we're just now getting Beastmen.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have like Beastmen are coming out this month.
Yeah, it's I from what I've seen.
Geld has armor sundering. What the heck?
Yeah, that's good old Geld. Well,
I can see the sense behind it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a funny thing. Because
Yeah,
it seems
yeah.
to be encouraging you to do something you should not be doing with Geld.
Exactly. And is that it? Is that all? Yeah, these two guys. I don't want to go there. Okay, let's just keep you in reserve. Yeah, from what I've seen of Age of Sigmar, I definitely see there is some really cool shit there, and I definitely want to explore that at some point. I just don't feel like getting into it just yet. But I definitely think I will sink my teeth into it at some point.
I understand what Sotek is saying. Okay,
Oh,
he
do?
was asking, despite the fact he's a Norskin, so like in a roleplay sense, would Sotek like him for killing the Great Horned Rat? If you worship the Chaos Gods, no. Sotek's a pretty unforgiving, cold deity. Sotek doesn't like anybody.
Except Lizardmen?
I don't think like is the right word. He's literally a manifestation of their hatred and anger.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, Sotek's a war god, not a culture god, not a civilization god. He's literally just an embodiment of war and annihilation. He's not evil. He's just not nice.
Okay, that's a great description, I'd say. All right, I'm glad we were
Got some
able
pretty
to.
nasty Empire Knights in the back there.
Yeah, I see those guys. Yeah, I'm glad we got to answer your question, Sotek. Oh,
If you're
Sotek.
not worshiping the Chaos Gods, then yeah, Sotek would probably appreciate it. I mean, the Lizardmen would really appreciate it. Yeah, I have no issue that the Lizardmen probably would not be upset at all if a human started worshiping Sotek or trying to please him. Like they would view that as correct and proper.
Huh.
That you give reverence to the correct deities.
By the way, let's talk a little bit about the old ones. What would you say the old ones, like, what was their main, what was their purpose with this world? Like, do you think, like...
So that, we know the answer, but it's changed over editions. So you'll get, like, arguments between people who haven't read the new lore. In the old lore, it was literally nobody had a freaking clue what was going on. Like, this happened, and it was a big freaking mess, and nobody understood what the hell the old ones were thinking or smoking or what have you. But in the later editions, especially 8, they retconned it to that the old ones specifically, once they saw the Warhammer world, they saw in it the potential to create life. And what they did is they were trying to engineer a race specifically designed to defeat chaos. That's
okay,
why
so they already knew about the chaos before the polar gates collapsed.
Yeah, they were already in the updated lore. They were already fighting their war against chaos. Because the thing is, in the super old lore, it was instead a situation of the old ones didn't know chaos even existed until chaos literally, like, ambushed them, and then they all died. But in the new lore, it was specifically retconned to that they had been fighting chaos for a really long time.
Okay,
and chaos knew, or they were 100% aware that chaos was in the realm of chaos, which was a realm they used for their own power. And they realized that the day was coming that, like, they were going to die if they didn't do something. So they were trying to literally create a race capable of just outright defeating chaos. But in their, I don't want to call it arrogance, but in their misunderstanding, they did not, the old ones didn't feel emotions. They're like the lizardmen in that sense. They did not understand that by creating a massive amount of sentient races, they were just feeding the dark gods and also drawing their attention to the Warhammer world. Because the dark gods were literally thriving on that colossal amount of
emotion
and raw magic and all this other stuff, and the chaos gods are entropy embodied. You know, they literally live to distort and destroy. So the Warhammer world was like a big fucking beacon to them. That being said, the other important thing to note about chaos is that chaos was not as we recognize it today when the old ones were fighting it. When they were fighting it, it was literally best described as a shapeless abomination. Like, there were no dark gods. It was just a force that was malign and cruel and sought to destroy and consume. When it reached the Warhammer Fantasy universe and it was, like, influenced by all the emotions while it was sitting in the warp, that's when it gained personality and split. And that's when Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh were born. Because we know what specific emotions created them. Like, you can literally plot the whole ordeal of, like, which came first and, like, when it was born and all that stuff.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it's so cool to, like, delve into, you know, like, the primal law of the Warhammer universe. It's like, you know, investigating the fallen titans. It's just fun.
Oh yeah.
Joseph asks, can you truly kill a demon?
Yes, it is possible to kill a demon. It is super fucking hard, but it's possible. Yeah. I only know of I can only think of 2 weapons in the Warhammer Fantasy universe that were truly capable of killing a demon permanently. And that was the Blade of Realities, which was forged by the Lizardmen, or at least controlled by the Lizardmen. It was probably forged by the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Destroyer of Eternities,
Which
is a Tomb
Yeah.
King weapon that was also very likely forged by the old ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Kateb told Cetra to use against Nagash, right?
Yeah, to stab Nagash with, because those weapons literally destroy you on like every plane of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nowhere to go. You're just dead.
Okay, I see. And Joseph has the order of the creation of the Chaos Gods.
I will say though, you can trap demons. That's generally the best way to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Is to like seal them in a prison or an amulet or what have you. That's rule of thumb. That's generally the best way to deal with them. If you magically find yourself in that situation somehow.
Okay, and yeah, okay, and Joseph has the supposed order of the creation of the Chaos Gods, which is, in his estimate, Nurgle, Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh.
Close. It's Khorne is the oldest, followed by Nurgle, followed by Tzeentch, followed by Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do we have like a, you know, some, I wouldn't say event, but some concept that spawned these into existence?
So basically, when the old ones created sentient life with emotion,
Mm-hmm.
Those forms of life felt a specific series of events happened. Of that, the first emotion to reach the Chaos Warp, because the emotion was powerful enough and was felt consistently and widely enough, was the emotion of rage. Because the first civilizations fought and warred against one another, and that gave birth and rise to Khorne, because the very first truly powerful emotion that dominated all of life was hatred and rage and battle.
Mm-hmm.
Then, because of all the rage and destruction and death, what we essentially ended up getting after that point was that the world began to suffer from despair as disease, famine, and death spread everywhere, and that intense despair gave birth to Nurgle.
Mm-hmm.
Then, after the wars started to wrap up a bit and civilization started developing and people started gathering and having ideas and creating things, that gave rise to hope, which is Tzeentch.
Mm-hmm.
And then, last but not least, when civilization was born outright and people were able to indulge in the specifics of life, notably culture, pleasure, intense pleasure, and then very specific types of pain,
Mm-hmm.
or pain for pleasure's sake, that gave birth to Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically as our society got...
Yeah, as life evolved, it basically just gave birth to a different god.
Mm-hmm,
and the only other creature that is debatably a god is the Great Horned Rat of the Chaos Gods, and he was born from the ideology of ruin. So he was what comes after civilization.
Uh-huh. Really cool. That's fucking awesome.
Supposedly, he could just be a greater demon that pretends to be a god and then became one because Skaven.
Mm-hmm.
That's a total toss up. You never know.
Another thing that I struggle to understand is, why is Tzeentch linked with hope? Is it because hope is like a wish for change?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, good.
Hope embodies change, because without change you cannot have hope. Because if everything's stagnant, then hope is meaningless.
Yeah, okay,
That's
great.
also why him and Nurgle are opposites.
And since we are on the topic of greater demons pretending to be gods, How about what about Hashut?
Hasha is definitely a demon, not a god. Now he's a god, but he did not start off that way.
Mm-hmm.
Hashit was a very powerful and weird greater demon who discovered the Chaos Dwarves during the Great Incursion, and he essentially took advantage of their situation and made them a deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where he was like, okay, if you agree to serve me completely and utterly and always worship me for eternity, you know, and glorify my name, then I shall, you know, in my infinite kindness, I shall save you.
Yeah, I understand the Chaos Wolf situation. They were basically, you know,
Oh, they were totally boned.
yeah, at that point they were crying out to whatever would hear them, right?
Yeah, they just didn't want to. They didn't want to die. Which, I mean, even to the modern day dwarves would be disgusted by that. Like they would view that as such a sign of weakness to like willingly, not willingly, but like when faced with the choice of death or honor, choosing not choosing death. Most dwarves would be, you know, because that's essentially what slayers are. You know, it's when a dwarf has reached a point where his honor is irredeemable, so the only way he can recover his armor is to die in glorious battle.
Yeah, that's also, it's like, you know, easy for them to say they weren't in that situation. Because like those dwarves that that would become the Chaos Dwarves, they weren't that much different from all the other dwarves. Like maybe some.
Well, there is one important note about the Chaos Dwarves that a lot of people don't necessarily think of, is that the Chaos Dwarves made their bed and died and fell in it, because the whole important thing about their story is that they did not turn back when they should have. Like when the dwarves went into the Darklands, essentially they were met with a moment of, okay, just how greedy are we? Because the Darklands was rich and plentiful in minerals and resources, and like if it could be harnessed, it was worth like just infinite goodies. But most of the dwarves were like, this place is like horrifically corrupted. Like we're not going to stay here. This is terrible. Like the ancestor gods themselves told the dwarves, don't go here, you know, leave this place. And most of the dwarves left. Guess who didn't?
The greediest ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it was literally the ones that were the most arrogant and the most greedy that were the ancestors of the Chaos Dwarves.
Oh my god, I just now noticed the squig walking animation. They literally look like they just shit their pants.
Yeah, they bounce. They're amazing.
No, when they walk, they look like they just shit their pants.
Yep.
Oh man,
I mean, squigs are not graceful creatures.
Oh, definitely not, man. I remember
they are an embodiment of like what awful deity saw fit to create this abomination.
Yeah, I remember when they showed up in the King and the Warlord DLC. Like I was so happy to see the skinks.
I don't think there's a person on Earth who wasn't super excited.
The first time I actually seen or even like learned about the skinks was in
Skinks or squigs?
Oh my god, sorry. Squigs. Squigs was in Warhammer Age of Reckoning.
Oh my god, the fucking squig herders, man.
Yeah.
I hated them so much.
Yeah. And
I mean, I played a white lion when I started the game, and then I played an archmage. So the squig herders were the bane of my existence.
Hey man, maybe try sending these guys up.
No.
And what is it I wanted to say about Warhammer Age of Reckoning. I didn't play the game that much because at the time I was also playing WoW, you know, World of Warcraft, and
fucking, they could not have released Warhammer Online at a worse time.
yeah,
they
like
literally released it like a month before Wrath of the Lich King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was like, yeah, I could be playing this and pay for this, or
yeah, that's what happened to everybody.
I could be playing Wrath of the Lich King. I was like, okay.
It literally killed the game.
Mm-hmm. But it, like, of course, it had its flaws, but I still think it was a solid game.
Because the thing is, for a lot of people are like, oh, you know, like it wasn't that popular or whatever. Like there was 2 million people playing that game when it came out. Like it had a huge player base. But the problem is, it still needed time. And unfortunately, the biggest thing was that they made a lot of promises, especially about the PvE content, that they were not capable of fulfilling in a reasonable span of time.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically had to just be like, oops. and then of course Wrath of the Lich King came out, which, you know, it's still celebrated as being one of the best MMO experiences of all time. That is not what you want if you're a competing company, especially since the Warhammer guys had the audacity to refer to their game as the WoW Killer, which was a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it was clever marketing in the sense that it would get people to try the game, but that was a big promise to try and deliver on.
Exactly.
There was no way in hell they were going to be able to compete with WoW. It was too big.
Yeah, it had its it was its second expansion, but already, like, from the original WoW, like, people were on board with this shit, and this was, like, you know, the second expansion, the Wrath of the Lich King, and I of course can't say because I haven't played the first 2 expansions. But as someone who played Warcraft 3, I definitely think that
and that was the thing. Like,
people were most hyped for Wrath of the Lich King.
Fan boner they could have possibly given the Warcraft community.
Yeah. Like anyone who played Warcraft 3, I definitely think they got a boner when they saw the trailer for the Wrath of the Lich King. Like, who wouldn't?
That's one of my
Even
favorite
people
videos
who
to
didn't
watch,
play Warcraft 3 would get a boner.
The old like there's a video online. It's old as shit because you forget how long ago it was. But like someone like recorded the live audience reaction to it, and
oh my god, it must have been rich.
People were losing their fucking minds.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Yeah, I sank a lot of time into that game.
Goddamn Giant Slayers, good job.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, the fucking that expansion was so famous that, like, even when people just see Arthas now, like he just showed up in Battle for Azeroth, like people lose their minds.
Yeah, me included. Like, I haven't kept up with WoW after Wrath of the Lich King. I played Cataclysm, but I don't know.
My first expansion that I legitimately played was Legion.
Oh, okay. Like,
I really liked Gul'dan, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess this is happening.
Yeah, Gul'dan is that character that reminds me a lot of Nagash. Of course, they are completely different characters.
Similar, though. Gul'dan was notably less successful.
Yeah, exactly. But they are the type of, you know, the dark sorcerer who will do anything to further his power.
Yeah.
I really like that archetype of a character. But I would
have totally sided with Gul'dan if the option was available.
Yeah, and so after Wrath of the Lich King, I basically dropped off. I still, like, keep up with WoW. I like the story, how it goes on and such. I'm still keeping up with it now. And when I saw, like, Arthas in that Jaina, you know, cinematic, I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, no, I was super hyped when I saw him too.
Like, man,
there's a lot of speculation about if he's coming back or not in a meaningful way, because, like, that wasn't just like a lazy model. That was a brand new Arthas model.
Like, I the problem is I I can't imagine a way they could, you know, further his story and do him justice. And it's not because they are they don't have good writers. They have good writers. They have great writers even. But the problem is that Arthur's has over the years gotten so much fan. I think he's like the fan favorite character, like for anyone, for at least most people. And bringing him back, it's like you are walking on a.
I hope that he's not gonna come back.
Yeah,
as,
me
like,
too.
an
Me too.
active character. The only way I could see him like re-emerging in the lore is because that it's been pretty much confirmed that the new or the current Lich King is a little not good.
Yeah. The Fire King.
Like he's becoming active, much to everyone's concern.
I am the supreme.
Yeah, I would definitely be for, like some people are calling the Wrath of the Fire King. Like I would definitely be for something. Maybe, you know, he like because of the Crown of wait, was it called? No, I'm getting that confused with Warhammer. It's not the Crown of Sorcery, the Crown of Domination. I don't know. The Lich King's helmet. Basically, I would definitely be for something like, you know, him getting whispers of its previous wearers. So like because Arthur's got that too from. It wasn't
Ner'zhul.
good. Yeah, Ner'zhul. But that was because, you know, like Ner'zhul was like still in.
He was the OG.
Trapped. Yeah, he was, yeah, and he was, but he was also trapped in the armor. But I definitely would.
I still remember how weirded out I was when I discovered that Ner'zhul was an orc. That confused me for the longest fucking time.
Yeah, I
was like, I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's like it feels like Ner'zhul was like some power that dwelled in Northrend for ages, but then you learn it's an orc from a different planet, and it all gets like super hella confusing. But I still like I fucking love Warcraft 3 and its story.
Yeah, Warcraft 3 is easily one of the best squad or low army count strategy games of all time.
It's
and the custom big games. Oh god.
Yeah. It's definitely up there with like.
You know what I was doing before Total War Warhammer came out?
Huh?
I was playing a Warhammer mod on Warcraft 3.
Oh really? There's a mod for that. Oh, I have.
Yeah, there was a fairly good mod. The only thing that sucked about it was the creator's name. I shit you not. He chose on the forums and on the Blizzard's or on BattleNet. He chose to call himself Molested Child.
Okay.
Like
well.
I'll never forget. There was something going on, and somebody was asking, and they're like, "Have you thought about like plugging this mod on your channels because you like it so much?" And I was like, "Not with that name." I'll take things that are not going to happen for 100.
Yeah, like the thing. I don't. One thing that I fucking don't understand about Blizzard is. Do you remember that Warcraft movie that came out some time ago? That basically like.
Yeah, I saw it. I liked it. I know a lot of people didn't. I liked it.
I wouldn't say I disliked it, but.
It sounds to me like you're saying you disliked it.
Well, it was basically like. For someone who played the story of Warcraft and Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3, I could, you know, keep up with what they were talking about, etc.
Here's the thing. They never should have made it a movie.
Yes.
Warcraft should have been a Netflix series with really high production cost. Like a 12-part series that tells the story of the first game. Boom, done.
Yeah.
It would have been amazing. They could have told the whole story. You're declaring war on me? Oh, they're declaring war on you. Oh, no, they're declaring war on me. Huh.
clan.
So your ally is declaring war on me. So I guess you get to come help me. I'm calling you to help.
Who the fuck are these guys? Okay.
They're
Wait.
the dwarves
Oh yeah. Okay,
that are
good.
next door to you. I apologize. I shouldn't have called you into that war.
No problem. Either it should have been like a mini series somewhere, or I don't understand why they didn't just come out swinging and already started the story of Arthas. Because
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and that's the ultimate problem is they tried to balance the game between like making it for long-time hardcore fans and making it for people who had no fucking idea what Warcraft even was.
yeah, they definitely
They
failed on the
gone-
second one.
They should have just gone for the fan version because fuck,
Yeah.
fuck the regular crowd. They're not.
Yeah, like if they want to
Fantasy
know
is
about
already
it,
not a
go play the
popular
game.
genre.
It's like, and I can guarantee that anyone who didn't know shit about Warcraft still was confused as fuck, because even I was like, after the first 15 minutes, I was like, wait, and I got through it in the end, but for someone who didn't know shit about it, they would basically be fucked, because the movie introduces like a gazillion characters in the first 15 minutes, and the worst thing is
can I just say that my biggest disappointment with the fucking movie is that somehow they made a race of oversized, ridiculous, over the top, just borderline retardedly goofy orcs.
Okay.
Amazing, relatable,
Yes.
interesting, and the humans were boring as fuck. I was like, how?
Yes,
how
exactly.
Could you, like, how did you manage to do that?
Like I don't remember anything from like the human characters. Like nothing. Nothing
were
sticks
terrible.
out at all.
The orc storyline was fucking fascinating.
Yeah. You know, fuck the Warcraft movie. It's just I don't know. Like it left zero impact with me except for disappointment. Like
I mean, at least it did well in China, but it's really the only super good thing I can say about it.
It's quite difficult to not do well in China. like I think the only movie that didn't do well from like the mainstream movies, and like you can argue if this is a mainstream movie or not, but was the latest Star Wars movie, which is a beast in and of itself.
Fucking Star Wars.
Yeah, let's not go into that because I would.
I'm gonna totally veto a conversation about that.
and so yeah, like I don't know. I just, if they wanted to do a Warcraft movie, they should have gone with their best fucking story, which is fucking Arthas. And I definitely think there was someone who was like, well, people would get confused if we would do Story of Arthas because there's many characters and races in that story. But the Warcraft movie was already filled with confusing stories and gazillion characters, gazillion races, and problems that most people didn't know shit about. And so like,
My God, I'm getting the shit kicked out of me. But yeah, I totally agree.
yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Do not waste my potential.
Yeah, as Balthazar says, do not waste my potential. That's basically how I.
Like, dude, I tell you, so many people come to me and they're like, "Hey, would you like a Warhammer Fantasy show?" And I'm like, "Of course."
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea how that could possibly be done and still be good.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just you're literally trying to still tell stories that kind of require 10,000 years of background.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I guess it's not necessarily true. I mean, Lord of the Rings did it, but it would take a very, very solid script.
exactly, and the problem nowadays is that most movies and even TV shows are basically like, okay, we have this concept, and if the studio greenlights it, it's basically like, yeah, you have like a year and a half to make this happen. Bye. And it's like, okay, if you want something real good, you need more time than that. Like the Lord of the Rings, even before they started shooting, they had like, what, like 3 to 5 years in preparations, doing like, you know, both working on the script, making the music, making the costumes, etc. And
Yeah,
it shows.
filmed
It
the
shows
entire trilogy
insanely.
in one go,
Yeah.
which made it fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Because all
exactly.
of it was like fresh.
Yeah, and that's something you don't see in most modern sequels. Every one of those movies feels like one long continuation. Like, if you watched it in one go, you wouldn't spot a difference where one movie ends and another begins. But then you look at, like, The Hobbit, and every single one of those movies feels different.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's like...
No, I'm not even like trying to be that guy, but I swear to God, I'm being 100% genuine. But I fucking love the Hobbit movies.
I don't hate them. I definitely love the first one.
The Smog was so well done. I
Yes.
cannot physically bring myself to hate it because I loved him so much.
Yeah, I love the first one. I think it captured the spirit of the Lord of the Rings movies.
I will say though, I think the first one was my least favorite.
Well, everyone can feel about it as
Well, because
they want to, but
like the trilogy went from kind of over the top campy to really fucking dark by the third movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if they were gonna go really dark with the third movie, which was fun, then they probably should have started off the first movie a little more serious. Because like watching the three films, the tone gets bizarrely like it just falls down a hill, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean.
Because I mean, think of like the Goblin Town scene, where like they actually
Yeah.
put like the goofy singing in, and like the way the Goblin King dies, like that is the most slapstick fucking thing.
yeah. It's
Don't get me wrong, I love that scene. Like,
mm-hmm.
and when I say it's my least favorite, I say that 100% in the knowledge and certainty that I'm still someone out there that like if someone comes to me and they're like, do you like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings better? I would have to think about it for a minute before I answered.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Like-
but that's just because I like the subject matter of The Hobbit more.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. Like, when it comes to actually, like, not the movies, but I read the book, so, like, what kind of subject, what kind of story I like more. Yeah,
Alright,
that would definitely be a problem for me to decide, because, yeah, you have, on one hand, you have, like, the typical good against evil story with a hero's journey, but Hobbit is so different in this way. You have, like, you know, racial tension, you have, like, this, you know, burglar's story. Like, Bilbo isn't a fighter, he isn't a heroic character. He, of course, is a hero, but he is much more like an observer.
he's a hero, but only really in the technical sense.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy the subject matter of The Hobbit because it's I always like in almost any genre this prequel feeling that, you know, back when everything was the calm before the storm, you know, like let's say well, let me compare it to something else. Of course, now I won't be able to remember anything, but basically what I mean, what I enjoy about The Hobbit is that everything from Lord of the Rings is there before it got fucked, and you can observe everything. Like, basically, oh my god, I fucking hate these dialogue diplomacy guys popping up all the time. What I really enjoy about it is, like, you can observe the story and you always feel like there's this pressure of the future slowly crawling in as you know, like, go through the story, and you always feel like there's something coming, like there's a storm brewing, you know.
Yeah,
That's what I really enjoy about The Hobbit. It's like, basically, yeah, we have this great adventure before, like, the real bad shit happens. That's why I really enjoy The Hobbit and its story. But when it comes to the movies, I definitely prefer Lord of the Rings.
I will say though, someone could come to me and be like, "All right, I've got a 10-hour video of three dudes trying to herd some cats, and it's horribly boring." And like it's like, and they're like looking at me straight in the face and they're like, "It's legitimately terrible and horrible and awful."
Okay.
But they go, "But it's narrated by Ian McKellen as Gandalf, Martin Freeman as Bilbo, and Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug." I'm like, I'm fucking in. Like, I'm
yeah,
down.
yeah.
No question.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Definitely understand. Like, yeah, Gandalf is my favorite character.
I will watch the shittiest movie on earth if it lets me get to watch more Ian McKellen as Gandalf. I don't even care.
Like, I don't know if I love Gandalf
they're inseparable. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I both love the concept of the character, but it's so interlinked with, you know, Ian McKellen that I can't possibly imagine anyone else in that role. Like, when I think of Gandalf, I always think of Ian McKellen. Like, even though I read the book, I read a comic of Hobbit, and I seen all these, and I seen the Bakshi movies, you know, the other Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. I still, when I think of Gandalf, I still see Ian McKellen. So, like, yeah. He definitely made the role his own.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like with Mark Hamill and the Joker. Like,
yes.
Every other Joker is going to be compared against that one. Don't get me wrong, Heath Ledger completely knocked it out of the park and blew everybody's faces off, but that was an exception, not the rule.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I definitely enjoy Heath Ledger, but if someone was like, which Joker do you prefer? I will always go with, you know, Batman animated series, Mark Hamill Joker. Like, it's not even a contest. Of course, I love, like, the Heath Ledger's take on Joker, but I always loved the comical, over-the-top Joker much more appealing than this, you know, dark...
I especially liked his later animated appearances where they found a pretty good mix of, like, homicidal, raging maniac while also still being... Oh, man. Have you watched the current DC cartoon series, Justice League Action?
No, I don't think I have.
It is so fucking funny. It's just stupid how funny it is. Because they got all the, like, for Batman and Joker at least, they got like the original voice actors. So they got Kevin Conroy for Batman and Mark Hamill for Joker, and it is fucking hysterical.
Well, I'll definitely check it out. Like, yeah, just like you said, once again, an inseparable actor with a character, like, these two just go together. I remember seeing somewhere that actually Christopher Lee, the guy that plays Saruman, originally wanted to play Gandalf.
Oh yeah, he was honestly just too old for the part. By the time
I think that's what they told him. Yeah, that they needed someone, unfortunately, more lively. But I'm still really glad that he got the Saruman role, because
his Saruman was fucking amazing.
Yeah, once again, Christopher Lee makes awesome villains, and
I'm very sad he's gone.
Yeah, it's well, what can you do? Like, he lived definitely a quite eventful life. I think, I remember hearing that he was actually the only one on the Lord of the Rings cast who actually met J.R. Tolkien, which is awesome.
He even had Tolkien's blessing to play Gandalf.
Oh really? Oh, that's awesome. Didn't know that.
Tolkien really fucking liked him.
Yeah, it's awesome that I think it was like 2 years before he died, he still made a, at least like took part in making of a metal album.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's super crazy.
Yeah,
I'm also glad we were able to cameo him in the Hobbit. That pleased me.
yeah,
Just to
yeah.
see Saruman, get to see not evil Saruman was really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I enjoyed his, as you said, cameo, and what is it I wanted to say? Yeah, I have that that album on my playlist. I also have one of his older works. He something he did with Rhapsody of Fire. Maybe you heard of the band, I don't know. Where he basically does a few songs, like the chorus for those songs, and he also does some narration for those songs, which is of course fucking awesome because he is like the voice, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sotek. Hey,
Did you ever
Sotek.
hear the funny story about when he told Peter Jackson, like he when he was recording the scene where Saruman dies? Have you ever heard that story?
I only remember him telling the story that go buy the extended edition because you learn what happens to Saruman. But that's all I heard.
So you know how he gets stabbed in the back by a worm tongue and dies.
Yeah.
So when they were recording the scene, there was a part where they were trying to, they're like, okay, can you know, do this, do that, you know, trying to get the perfect cut for it and stuff. And at some point, something along the lines of someone said to him, okay, we need you to make this sound, and he goes, he basically says something along the lines of, oh, that's not the sound somebody makes when you stab them in the back. And when he fought in the war,
Oh my god.
like, no, when you surprise someone and stab them in the back, they make this sound.
Oh, that's fucking.
Like,
Oh my
Jesus
god.
Christ.
That's some story right there. Ah. Oh yeah, Christopher Lee was an awesome guy.
Fucking Saruman the White murdering people through World Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to The Hobbit, as I said, like, I love the first movie because I think it like recaptures the feeling of Middle Earth, and I love the second one almost solely because of Smaug.
Yeah, they that was literally the only reason to make the trilogy, and they did it. They did it.
Yeah, and the third one, I don't care much about. It's like,
Neither does anyone else on Earth.
yeah, like I think I would care much more if it wasn't just one big CGI battle, you know. If it was like in Lord of the Rings.
I watched the extended version, and I was like, this is so much better than the regular one.
Oh yeah,
like,
they do quite a lot of crazy
the dwarf
shit.
and the elves alone, I was like, okay, this is instantly better.
Yeah, it definitely is. Though, you know, it also like, I don't remember if anyone dies in that, you know, like skirmish between them, but you know, the point of like the Hobbit book was that you know, Gandalf stopped them before they could start killing each other, because like once you kill a few dwarves and elves, it's like, okay, like, even though we then unite against the orcs, you still kill our buddies, you know? It's like,
I fucking loved it. Like, it was so great, because it was different than you expected to go.
Oh, it was definitely different with the dwarves launching some of those, like, I don't even know.
Winning.
Yeah.
I will love, like, with how overpowered Tolkien's elves are, the fact that the dwarves were fucking winning the fight. Oh, I was so pleased.
Yeah,
on
my
a deep fundamental level.
my favorite scene is when basically the orcs show up, and like, again, in very much the spirit of the Warhammer dwarves, the dwarves are like, okay, fuck these faggoty elves, let's go fight the orcs. It's like,
Oh yeah,
to battle,
they
to battle,
instantly are like,
sons
nope,
of
we got more
Durin.
important shit to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's so dwarf-like. So I definitely was like, okay, that captures the spirit of the dwarves. It's like, let's leave these faggoty elves. Yeah, exactly how we said, we have more important shit to do. Yeah, I'm still sitting here trying to build up an army because of course Marienburg is just
I'm having to fall back from Kazan Irkula so I can recruit more troops.
yeah, Marienburg is just a fucking
I am ready.
impregnable fortress for like basic troops.
Dude, I have to fucking cut through. I have to go into Karak Ungor. It's gonna be a nightmare. The only good news is that Ornery's army is falling apart because he's got really low fightiness.
Okay, hopefully we'll get some battle soon up in this bitch, but yeah, it's awesome how we went from Warhammer to Warcraft to Batman to fucking Lord of the Rings.
That's the way these kinds of things go.
Yeah.
And I would really appreciate it if this is making me mad. Grr.
I am the supreme patriarch.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a painting stream later tonight, though. I'm really enjoying my Night Haunts. You would probably like the Night Haunts if you like Nagash, because it's literally an entire faction of people who made Nagash mad, so he gave them eternal damnation and punishment.
Yeah, I think I seen the trailer on the Warhammer TV or something like that. It is.
Like it fits disturbingly well, and the best part is that he punishes them all ironically, which I just fucking love that.
Come.
And also Surtha Ek has a message for you, Sotek. He's currently fighting the High Elves as Mazdamundi and and is allying with Malekith, trying to make him a good guy because
that's the nice thing about Total War is you can do fucking anything.
yeah.
Granted, the Slan really did not know what to think of Malekith for a really long time.
Yeah, I think they even have like a hard time distinguishing between Dark Elves and High Elves, right?
To them, there's not a super easy difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Which is both funny and sad at the same time.
Yeah. But I mean, humans... Do humans, like, know about, like, the differences between High Elves, Dark Elves, Wood Elves?
Well, yeah, because they look distinctly different nowadays. In that Dark Elves are much paler, and especially... Like, here's the big thing, though. Like, humans and dwarves could see Dark Elves and all of their weapons and armor, and High Elves and all their weapons and armor be like, these are different.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Slan look at them and they're like, I don't see it. Because they don't see things very well in the now. You know, they're very much always operating on a ideology. And the thing about the Slan a lot of people don't realize, and what kind of causes them to be a bit goofy, is that they only see things from the perspective of like absolute millennia and like colossal, world-spanning empires. You know, they look at everything in a concept of thousands of years, not months. So to them, like the elves suddenly changing their clothes and being evil, like it takes them a really long time to actually notice it because they're just slow on the uptake. Not because they're dumb, but because they've got more important things to worry about.
Yeah, and especially for like creatures to whom
And
decades are a blink of an eye. Like,
Unfortunately for the Dark Elves, the Slan did eventually figure out what was going on. And they were not super thrilled, is probably the nicest way to say it. That's when they started killing the Dark Elves with fair impunity. They were like, yeah, screw these guys in particular. Fucking kids mess up the great plan.
What was like the plan of the old ones for the humans?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
The humans were unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
The old ones started making them, and things were progressing reasonably, and then the polar gates exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason the ogres and the halflings are so kind of bizarre is because they were literally last second creations. They were made. I think they were fully crafted like days before the polar gates exploded, so they weren't meant to be what they are.
Cool.
They were an accident.
Yeah.
Not in that like they weren't accidentally made; they were accidentally not finished.
I I think I heard or read somewhere that the ogres were basically meant to be like a weapon against chaos.
All the races were.
Oh well, of course. Yeah.
That's why the gods tinkered or the old ones. That's why they tinkered when they were making the races. The most important facet of every race was what their relationship with magic was,
Mm-hmm.
because magic is literally the lifeblood and the source of chaos. And they were trying to figure out the best way to create a race that would be able to defeat chaos and use its power against it, but not be corrupted by it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the elves were super magically attuned, because they were the first experiment. Then they created the dwarves, who were the most magically resistant, and both of those didn't work at all the way they wanted them to. They were like, okay, fuck that. So then they tried creating man as kind of a middle ground, and that didn't work super well.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was working, but they still needed a lot more time in the oven. And then some of the old ones were like, okay, let's try making a race that's somewhat resistant to magic, but not like dwarf resistant to magic. And that was the ogres and the halflings.
Mm-hmm.
And then they died.
Poor old ones. And
also, somewhere in that timeline, they created the Sky Titans, but the Sky Titans were a very, very early race. They were like right after the Lizardmen.
yeah, and yeah, that's like only thing I know about the Sky Titans is that the ogres ate them.
Yes, that's pretty much all there is to say.
Oh.
Other than they're the ancestors of the giants that we have today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what about the one of the gods I like know the least about, because I don't actually understand like if it even is a god. Well,
What, the Great Maw?
Yes.
The Great Maw is it's a very peculiar thing. Literally, so the deal with the Great Maw is that we don't know if it's a god or not, but it is a god. But so the whole thing is somebody in Cathay got the bright idea that the best way to deal with the ogres and get them out of everyone else's hair was to literally rip off a giant chunk of the moon and hurl it at them. Because Cathay was tired of the ogre shit and they didn't want to deal with them anymore. So they were like, all right, we'll just nuke them from orbit and consider the matter solved.
I had no idea that anyone could do that.
The ogres survived because ogres are very hardy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, due to the close proximity they had with the Great Maw when it impacted the planet,
mm-hmm.
long story short, its corruption mutated them a little bit and affected them on a deep level, like on a racial level.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that Warhammer explored in later editions was how chaos warped every single one of the Warhammer Fantasy races just a little bit, but in a really important way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, chaos made the Slann really lethargic, and it made the elves more prone to arrogance, and it made the dwarves more stubborn than they should have been. Like, it took all it basically took everyone's ultimate fault and made it just bad enough that it would severely impact their development as a race.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that.
And which, granted, Chaos didn't really do it intentionally; it just sort of happened in typical Chaos fashion. The only race they intentionally did that to was the Slann, because that was the gods trying really, really hard to get the Slann disabled, because the Slann were one of the most major threats to them.
Yeah, I see. And so, yeah, and so Cathay basically tried to nuke the ogres, and
well, yeah, because the original home of the ogre kingdoms, or the original home of the ogres, was kind of like Mongolia, essentially. So like right next to Cathay, and they kept wandering into Cathay and eating people and their cattle and stuff. And it was making the Dragon Emperor super pissed.
Absolutely not.
Because he was like, "Stop doing that." And the ogres were like, "No." So the astromancers of the Celestial Court were like, "Okay, fuck these guys then," and then dropped a comment on them. And so the thing that happened, though, that was important for the Great Maw is that, so they hurled this giant meteor of warpstone into the earth. And of course, warpstone is literally just physical, it's just magic in a physical form, or chaos in a physical form. And what happened is, when it impacted the ogre civilization, it had a symbiotic effect. So the ogres were altered by the Great Maw, or the Warpstone Comet, but the Warpstone Comet was also warped by the ogres, because of the colossal amount of calamity, emotion, yada, yada, yada. And so the Great Maw became an embodiment of the ogres' like primordial focus, which is hunger. So it turned into a giant fucking mouth that burrowed its way completely through the planet, which is why on the ogre side of the planet it's on land, so it's like a big mouth. But then if you go to the other side of the planet, it's underneath the ocean, so there's an eternal whirlpool.
Oh, cool.
Where it's constantly, devouring the sea. The only good thing about the Great Maw is that it occasionally barfs crap up, but it's not a good thing. It's not even a sentient thing. But the ogres were deeply, profoundly changed by it, in that they viewed it as their god, because it's the ultimate devourer, and they really respect how, the more you can eat, the more power and respect you have in ogre culture. Eating is a really fucking big deal to ogres. They're permanently in Thanksgiving mode. And but what the Great Maw did to them is it made their hunger much deeper and more sinister. Where ogres, one thing that's not really known by most people about them is that ogres cannot fully satisfy their hunger. They're always hungry for eternity. When they eat a lot, they can get to the point where they're satisfied enough that they can stop because they've run out of food or whatever. But because of the curse of the Great Maw, ogres will never be full, and they'll never be satisfied. They will always keep consuming everything, which is what makes them so nomadic and also so dangerous. Thankfully, they have a little bit more chill than would be expected, and they will happily satiate their gluttony with greed. But ogres, thankfully for the rest of the world, are incredibly stupid most of the time.
You what? Let us begin.
Because if they were really smart, they would probably be the most powerful race in the Warhammer world, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, yeah. There's nothing more to add.
Thankfully, the ogres don't have any form of industry. It's non-existent in their culture.
Yeah, they basically just
every advanced weapon they have is stolen or traded for
from the Chaos Wolves.
It depends. I mean, a lot of ogres who like travel the world, um, like will help out like the dwarves of the world's edge mountains or the empire or something in exchange for
The
weapons. That's how you get ogres with like pistols and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, they definitely do trade with the Chaos Dwarves, and then a lot of their most powerful weapons, like the Iron Blasters. The Iron Blasters were actually a creation of the Iron Blasters were actually a creation of the Sky Titans.
What?
Uh-huh.
Because the Sky Titans were incredibly advanced. They were brilliant of a civilization. The problem was they were all isolationists,
Mm-hmm.
so they didn't like being around each other, and they lived in isolated castles, which made them very vulnerable
When
to
the ogres came,
who
yeah.
attacked in like an unrelenting horde. But like the Sky Titans were badasses. They killed thousands of ogres every time the two races clashed, but they would just get overwhelmed by numbers.
Mm. Yeah, it's such a shame that hearing about like this great advanced race that was basically like Skytans were an order race, you would say, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like, imagine just a few of them surviving now. It would be like for the forces of order, that would be like a
Oh yeah, they would
massive
They
help.
probably wouldn't have been the nicest guys, but like when push came to shove, like during a chaos invasion or something, they would have definitely helped out the side
Mhm.
of order.
Yeah.
Also, and they were crazy powerful too because they were huge. Like giants are inbred and have a lot of problems, and they're stunted. Sky Titans were way fucking bigger than giants. Like giants probably came up to probably their knees.
Oh damn.
Like ogres fighting Sky Titans, which also goes a lot to show with how fucking terrifying the ogres are when they really want something.
Mhm.
It was literally like normal people trying to kill a giant.
Oh my god. Oh, it's really
Had super sophisticated technology.
yeah, it's really sad, thinking about the fate of the Sky Titans, especially when you imagine it like this, like an unrelenting horde of ogres just basically, in the end falling the giant and eating it. Fuck, it's just a fate.
Oh yeah,
a horrible fate for anyone.
It's a terrible story. It's a very tragic story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, poor Sky Titans. Whew. And on the opposite end of, like giant things on the side of order, on the opposite end you have the dragon ogres, right?
The Shaggets, yeah. Dragon ogres as a species, most of them are not that big. Like they're like ogre sized,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Shaggets are the ones that are super fucking ancient because dragon ogres just get bigger as they get older.
Mm-hmm. And dragon ogres, they like I think I read they are one of the oldest races, right?
Yes, they predate the old ones.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, like I'm not any expert, of course, but they already seem like something that would be, warped by chaos, since they are, well, dragon ogres, but of course at that point ogres weren't, of course, created back then, but still, like, this seems like a very chaotic race, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
they were not good. No.
Yeah, I know that.
They were the primary opponent of the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So like because the dragons were the dominant species on the Warhammer planet before the old one showed up, and their main rival civilization-wise was the dragon ogres.
Mm-hmm.
And they fucking hated each other.
Yeah, so yeah, I remember that when Chaos came, they basically, made a deal. Koleg's dad made a deal with them? Or no?
Yes.
Yeah,
Krakenrock the Black made a deal that Kolek played a significant part in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, so and that basically meant that Dragon Ogres would side with the forces
Yeah,
of Chaos.
they made a pact with them because after the old ones showed up, the old ones like took one look at the Dragon Ogres and were like, yeah, no, and so they started getting wiped out because the old ones were insanely powerful.
Hmm.
Like there was no race on the Warhammer world that even stood a chance against them.
Yeah, and then they also used the Lizardmen to, like, cleanse the place, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Lizardmen, most people aren't aware of this, but the Lizardmen had a world-spanning empire for thousands of years
Hmm.
before anything happened. The old ones didn't even bother creating like any of the new races until after they dealt with a lot of the problems that they wanted to make sure were taken care of.
Yeah, okay, so now we'll have to fight the fucking dwarves. Pooch! Won't be fun at all. But yeah, Balthazar is like a fucking beast. I am confident we can win this, even though it will be pretty damn hard.
Oh, were you not able to get peace with them?
Well, they offered me peace, but like I still have to wait like at least 10 turns because for some of my buildings to build up so I can bring some higher tier units against the Marienburg. So I don't just want to sit there, you know.
Oh.
So let's
Okay.
fight this. And what was it I wanted to say? We were talking about Dragon Ogres. Oh yeah. Yeah, and when the old ones were cleansing the world, what I remember reading somewhere is that the only race that weren't able to like really get rid of was the orcs, which is like,
Well, they were sort of successful. What happened with the greenskins was that the Saurus were totally able to overwhelm them and beat them back. The problem was that the greenskins then went underground, and the lizardmen were not well adapted to subterranean warfare. So they kind of just settled for pushing them completely down into the depths, and then just sort of gave up because they couldn't realistically pursue them down there.
yeah.
And the thing is, the orcs reproduce so fucking quickly that the only way to actually exterminate them is literally to kill every single one of them and flush them out.
Yeah, and
which was just not realistically possible.
Oh hey, Corey D. Yeah, hope you like the stream. I think we'll still stream for some more time. Like I don't know. What about you, Sotek? Do you feel tired or do you want to end?
I probably need to wrap up in like probably say like 27 minutes ish.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Yeah, so let's make it in like 23 minutes. So it's it's
yeah,
what?
Yeah, 23 would land us on 5:30 p.m.
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Okay, and I also read somewhere. Yeah, I think it was at the height of Karazhan that the dwarves actually devised a plan to exterminate the orcs.
Many have tried.
Yeah, but of course, yeah. Oh, okay. Like sometimes you are thankful for the
reinforcement bug.
yeah. Sometimes you are thankful. Sometimes you curse it to all hell. I think it'll be just a rune lord with I don't know, with something. A rune lord with 1 unit. Wait.
It should be easy to take care of.
Oh yeah. Wait a sec. I'll give you. Wait, I have Balthazar. I will just help you with Balthazar. It won't be hard to take them out. I'll take 2 of these guys.
I don't think you'll need to bother with Balthazar for this fight unless you're just wanting to like nuke him. Well, actually, I guess if you could like overcast Plague of Rust him, so we could just nuke him down.
Yeah, I'll be there. Just give me a sec. I'll take care of the rest. The Empire endures. Like I definitely enjoy the voice acting in this game. It's just a top-notch job.
Oh yeah, that's good.
One of the greatest things about Dawn of War, or the entire series. Oh well, at least the original Dawn of War is the voice acting is just like you can see that passionate people did the voice acting, or at least wrote the lines.
It was a little ham sometimes, but yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I think that's
fucking chaos cultists or heretics can go die in a barrel. They were so annoying.
Oh.
Nope.
Well, fuck
this looks
this.
like it's the
Fuck
main
this.
army.
Yep.
I'll get off some shots before I fall back.
Oh my god, let's just stop this. I have to fucking turn everything around.
Did you just pause?
Yes?
Heresy.
Heresy grows from idleness. Oh, come on. Okay. Let's go. Let's bring these guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna send the Outriders go deal with the small expedition force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to get that mortar turned around.
Yeah, I'm turning everything around. Okay. Come on, Balthazar, come on.
Do you have like a big
Yep.
spell you can drop
You bet.
on all those? Okay.
I'll
Overcast final transmutation.
Yep.
Interesting choice.
Well, in Steel Faith, it's fucking ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, it's
Like-
pretty good damage.
Yeah, look at that, and it's still we got 3 seconds left.
I mean, considering their magic resistance.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Wow, they have 40%. Woo!
yeah, that's because of the Rune Lord. The expedition force has a Rune Lord, so he, and he's on the anvil, I think. So yeah, he gives what, like 15% more magic resistance.
You need to send someone to engage these dwarf warriors, so that way they.
Yeah,
keep
don't
just
worry,
turning around
don't worry
like
about it.
crazy.
I am sending where those 2 halberdiers. There. Okay, these guys. Oh, come on, no. Okay, Balthazar. I'll wait for them to blob up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna lead these dwarfs to your infantry. That way they're not just running around being annoying. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna let your infantry handle this. I'm gonna go shoot all these dudes in the
Yeah,
back.
of course.
Ride now! Ride, we'll hear them! The guns!
Ride for ruin and the world's ending. Oh my god, I love that scene.
Damage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why I fucking love Caster Lords. Especially in Steel Faith, because they are... I wouldn't say OP, because a lot of units are just incredible hard counters to everything except their... Yeah,
Their morale is low! Break down!
Ready for war!
Like, for example, like, I remember when I first played Steel Faith, I was like, I was playing against the vampire counts, and they had the Blood Knights, and I was basically used to vanilla, so I was like, okay, let's just send some halberds against them. But the Steel Faith Blood Knights are just
switch your
fucking...
mortar onto those unengaged crossbows.
Yep. I'll just switch it here. Balthazar. Let's put this here.
Only one major pocket left.
Yep. Yeah, and so, oh, how the fuck did you slip by? The Rune Lord just managed to avoid both of those halberds and just slipped into my backline. Oh my god, poor Rune Lord.
We
What is this?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord. Yeah, so what I was saying, basically, the Blood Knights here have insane armor, insane melee attack, insane melee defense, and they have healing. Because, you know, vampires. So, taking them down, unless you have, like, something on their tier level, is almost impossible. So, I don't feel bad about, you know, a little overpowered spellcasters. Okay, we can stop now.
Just gotta kill the Rune Lord.
Yeah. What is this? Is this? Yep, this is the Lord. I will come help you since Balthazar has that armor sundering.
It's like, I don't control any of these units. So.
Okay.
Your command. Stop.
Come on, Balthazar. What's this? Swordsman.
Our weapons are yours. For the twin-tailed comet.
Yeah, there was a dwarf lord somewhere. There he is.
Swordsman.
Wait, Balthazar, do we have some magic for a Plague of Rust? Yep. Okay, this should be... He should be more than squishy enough to...
Charge! Yes, my lord.
Yeah, I hate when, you know, you are chasing down some routing units and they just...
Yeah, him we definitely want to kill. Normally I
Yeah.
people let the lords go, but
Like there's basically nothing left. And what was I saying? Yeah, I hate when sometimes when you are chasing routing units, the units that are chasing will just run around them instead of you know charging them. But this is a bug I still encounter in like Rome 1, so this has been
difficult to fix for some reason.
Yeah, this has been hanging on with the series way from the start. Also, like, for anyone who's watching my stream, like, even though I should have maybe stated this in the beginning, I'm playing with an application called Reshade, which basically applies some filters to the base game. Many filters you can actually, you know, turn on, turn off, and tweak around with, and it basically makes the game look much better. Not in like any modding sense, but in a you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
You can end the battle.
Yeah, I just want to show the reshade, but I'm just in the. Oh my god! I'm just fucking. The word just is on the tip of my tongue.
I would let Rorik go.
Okay. Basically, this is how the game looks like in vanilla. This is the vanilla game for anyone who's watching right now. Okay, so this is the vanilla game. Now this is the with the reshade applied. I think I think you can all spot the difference, which you can check it later too. So like it's an insane difference. Like I basically tweaked it so it highlights all the shadows. It what I hate most about Warhammer 2 is like everything seems bright as fuck. I don't know why. Like compared
I've seen some of my usuals in chat.
Oh well, you shill my channel whenever you have the opportunity, so I don't I'm not surprised. Yeah, that
Hello
was...
everyone. Yeah, I was gonna just I've been recording this entire time. For anyone wondering, I just didn't feel like live streaming it.
Hate it.
That way I could cut out if it ever gets like slow or something.
Hey there, Dr. Zero, and okay, Justin has came to vanquish all demons. Well, we are lucky. And yeah, basically, like this battle was a wash thanks to Balthazar. 406 kills, and then he's basically. If I had just any other regular non-casting legendary lord or even normal lord, I would basically be fucked because like there's nothing.
Nonsense. You just have to know how to use them.
Yeah. Okay, Undertaker. He says he's only here because you are not streaming this.
Well, I'll be putting up videos of me and Eric's campaign, but I don't think I'm ever going to stream them just because I don't like having two competing streams at the same time.
Hmm.
It does not promote cross pollination, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll let you have one more turn and then we'll end this.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And Sotek, you were saying that you will stream some painting later today?
Yeah, I'm feeling up for it. I'm not going to make any promises.
Okay, okay. Again, for anyone watching, this is with the reshade on, and this is with the reshade off. Like, the first time I tried the reshade and then turn it off, I was like, the vanilla game doesn't look like this. It's way too fucking blurry and bright. But then when I fucking, you know, looked at YouTube and I actually compared the two, I was like, damn, I never noticed it was, you know, when you actually have the difference with the reshade on, you grow so used to it because it looks so good. It's look like this is how it should look from the very beginning, and then when you turn it off, it's like, what? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. But that was my reaction. Like I thought
One
that
of my favorite phrases.
it just
I don't know why it just is.
perfectly summarizes any situation when you just don't know what to say.
But it's only when it's said in an exaggerated fashion.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Why do you hate the Insomniac Spider game, Undertaker? Or love hate? Is it because like it forces you to play too much or what?
Is that the new one? I've heard really good things.
Yeah, exactly. I heard very good things too. So that's why I'm wondering why he's having such a.
I don't have a PS whatever, so to me it's kind of useless. But
Oh, it's only on PS4.
I concur.
Yeah, I have a PS4, but it's only for like, well, which I think this is only for like PS4 exclusives. So like God of War and Bloodborne and such. It's like
that's very cute, Greenskins.
Okay.
There may be a lot of you, but good luck.
Damn,
Oh,
they.
Wyvern there for a second. Oh, that must have been the war boss.
Mm-hmm.
And those orcs got stomped.
Mm-hmm.
How's the Spider-Man game? It looks really good. Like I watched some gameplay of it. I was very impressed.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
exactly. It was like this is how a Spider-Man game should look like.
Like I watched the intro up to the fight against Kingpin, and I was like, all right, that looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Undertaker says that. Oh, there are apparently some stages where you either sneak around as
Yeah, there are stealth missions.
yeah, Miles Morales and even MJ.
Yeah,
Okay.
I play as Mary Jane sometimes.
Okay.
Oh, this dude's dead.
Yeah, well, I understand if, how this can. Oh, she's Okay. Yeah, I understand how there are definitely games that have, like, you know, missions that completely take you out of the experience. So I understand if, you know, someone, if you have a highly action-paced Spider-Man game and then you are suddenly thrusted into a MJ investigation mode, it might, you know, like break the, well, maybe not the immersion, but break the fun you are having. So I understand if someone has problems with that. I will have to try the game for myself one day.
Let's see.
Oh, there's Misha.
Someone must have posted that we were streaming in my Discord. There's no reason they'd all be turning up like this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was gonna announce it when I put out the video, but I guess that's not happening. Well, I'm gonna put out the video, but there's no point. Like, fuck the announcement, apparently.
Well,
I was gonna try and be all professional. Screw that noise.
What can you do?
Bunch of fucking stalkers. Sieging this is gonna take a little while, but that's okay. It'll just be something to look forward to next time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's good enough.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah, I'll just conquer this Ziflin. How much was the garrison?
It is time.
I'll see how the map looks like for Ziflin, and if it's something you know, quickly takeable, I'll do it right now. But if it's something like more complex, I'll just leave it for the next stream. And yes. I just think I'll leave it for the next stream.
I shall be victorious.
Yeah, I'll save it and continue the siege.
Yeah, make sure you save it somewhere safe.
Yep. Okay, save the game. Co-op.
Alright, so that will conclude episode 1 of this random co-op.
Yep. Okay, so well, we'll talk about when we'll stream next. Like I could stream tomorrow, but it's up to you, Sotek. So
I'll let you know tonight.
yeah, of course. Okay, so thanks for everyone who watched. This was like my first attempt at stream, so sorry for any technical difficulties in the beginning and
yeah, the start of the stream.
Yeah, and any and all that might have turned up during it. So thanks for everyone who joined the stream, and I hope you had fun. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye, Sotek.
Bye.